Sorry about that. Just got a bit of good bad news, but anyway. So lots of stuff happening this week. I will admit I'm actually very stressed out from work lately, but I'm doing my best not to let that affect the streaming schedule too much. I wound up recording the Elder Scrolls episode yesterday rather late, and on top of that, for some reason you'll notice it if you watch the video, it really did a number on my voice. And then I've got a lot of work to do here at home, which is, that's its own thing. And then there's something big happening tomorrow, which I will explain in a little bit. But all of this is a big throat clearing to say this will probably be a bit of a shorter broadcast. Now, I always say that, and it always winds up going a bit later, but I actually have quite a few incentives to make sure that I get some stuff done tonight. And unfortunately, that means that it may come at the expense of some broadcasting time. But to try and make this seem less like you are losing out on things, I will actually explain what you're getting in exchange. Tomorrow, I will be streaming on Steam, and that is because the Cultist Simulator Dancer DLC is being released then. So my intention is to broadcast it right when it launches, which should be 2 o'clock my time. That translates into what? I guess 19 hours from now? Now, there's a couple things that are sort of contingent on that. I do have work I'm going to first, so if anything happens along those lines, I'm going to wind up, suffering the effects of that. But I don't know, I have all of these things to sort of get out of the way. But the intention is to do it very much like last time, which is once I get out of work and get set up for Steam, I'm going to start at or as close to launch time as I can, and the intention there is to really go as long as I can. I don't ever want to grind myself into powder streaming, but it is worth remembering that this is going to be a DLC that I'm personally very interested in, and more importantly, it's going to be the first time I've played Cultist Simulator really since the last time I streamed it. I deliberately put it aside so that I could kind of go in as close to blind as I could at the launch. And as it happens, I get to share that moment with all of you on Steam. So I might do a quick sort of preliminary run just to make sure everything's set up and good to go. But I'm going to try and make the thing as close to a blind playthrough as possible. And I hope you guys enjoyed that, because I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm especially very grateful that Weather Factory asked me to come and share it with you on their Steam page. Again, that makes me feel very good, and it's a nice way that I can sort of pay back the very nice treatment that I got from them. So with that in mind, basically, I have a lot of incentives for keeping this a relatively short cast. I've got a lot of personal stuff that I need to do. I need to find a way to deal with the stresses both from work and from just some other things that have been going on for the past few months. I need to, get stuff done around the house within the next couple of days. And then I also need to make sure that I'm ready to go for a nice long stream tomorrow. One last thing I'll say before we jump into the game is on Friday, I do normally broadcast. But because it is the third Wednesday of the month, I always visit a local game dev collective called Dirty Rectangles. And I've done that for the last little while. It's been great. I actually mentioned quite a few of the games that came out of visiting that in a blog post. The one where I was sort of trying to advocate for for Nighthawks, which did ultimately get funded. So thank you everybody who responded to that. Yeah, it's one of these things where the immediate benefit to the stream isn't always apparent, but you never know where you're going to find the next cool thing. So, and more importantly, it's sort of fun to hang out with these people. It's all well and good for me to have opinions about games and such, but I am very much on the outside. The best that I can sort of claim is that I have I have the streamer side. I have a little bit of knowledge of that. Yeah, otherwise I sort of, I don't know. I can think of a lot of reasons to do that, but that does sometimes mean I don't have as many opportunities to sort of show off. I know I lost a bunch of people because of all of my babbling at the beginning. I see a lot of reasons to do it, and I don't see as many. Hang on, is this the same guy? Yeah, this was the guy who just died, right? No, apparently not. Died 782, it's now 7... No, this has to be the next guy. Anyways, yeah, so I need to shut up and just get on with the game, but all of this is to say, if it's shorter tonight, it's just because there's a little bit of development going on in terms of behind-the-scenes things, especially in terms of taking care of myself. And that doesn't mean that it's a permanent thing. But I did want to mention that there will still be an Elder Scrolls episode. I will very likely still be streaming on Steam when the Elder Scrolls episode goes up. But don't let that... if you prefer the Elder Scrolls to Cultist Simulator, obviously you can watch what interests you. So, that long throat clearing out of the way, I think we're like getting close to 10 minutes. Although, mind you, some of that was just waiting for the game to load. We've got a new ruler. We do have the seniority succession, so in this case, it's a 51-year-old ruler. Not always the sort of thing we can do too much work with. But as usual, at the very beginning, we'll just go through. We'll get a quick view of what we're up to. We'll maybe think a little bit about what some of our short and medium-term goals are. And we'll deal with the things that have emerged. So, number 1. To the glorious Count Gaimar, your wisdom and mercy are legendary. I would like to offer you a seat on my council, and therefore offer you the title of Chancellor. I mean, I'd make a better general, but sure. Alright, so apparently I can press a claim on the Duchy of Brittany. I can actually kind of do it twice over. Catch is, of course, that I've got a guy with about 8,000 troops and counting. Sort of... they might want to hang on to that. And their heir is actually a better general. And more importantly, their heir can probably knock... knock my existing army out with their current levies. So we won't do that. We've got some open count. Oh wow, we've got a clean slate. Very cool. I've got a character focus. I've got some minor titles. So where do I begin? Let's start by seeing who... Alright. So I may want to make the... So it's the bishops and the... technically it's the bishops and the mayors that I want to keep happy because of the money. Now, as it happens, Hrodgaard is ideal because they've got good learning. So, best I can hope for this guy is Steward, which may or may not be good. Now the mayor of Vincenza has a pretty good marshal. Thing is, they don't really like me that much, but I'm gonna do my best and try and keep some harmony in the realm. Now the real challenge here is Alboin is not that good of a steward. Fortunately, they are old. Hey, Cecilia Pones. Great to see you as always. And in this case, I don't know. I think I'm willing to take the short-term hit. But I do want to make sure that somebody with better stewardship is his replacement. To round it out, we can now put our ideal characters in as sort of, Chancellor and Spymaster. I'm going to do something a little risky in terms of the person who dislikes me, but we'll see what happens. It's a level 19, so and they'll sort of like me a little bit more for the Spymaster role. And one of the things that I'm going to do to secure their loyalty is I will award... Oh, they've already got an honorary title. Okay. So the short reign will... I think the short reign will sort of deal with itself in a little while. But he's someone I need to be a bit careful of. Alright, I think I'm generally happy with the way these are going. We're going to keep my Chancellor performing statecraft. Part of this is because I do really want to get more territory. So ideally, I'd sort of get as much of the duchy as I can. So in this case, Treviso, Padua, and Mantua. Now, in terms of ownership, we've got Duke Lambert of Modena, and we've got Countess. Ah, yes. I believe he gets. Oh no. It's a really good argument for me trying to take Padua, to be honest. I definitely don't have the army for it right now, though. Well, okay. This is not the best use of my Chancellor, but I think we're going to roll the dice and see if we can make this happen. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this here is that this is a relatively weak ruler. They'll get 600 strength at the most. In terms of me, once my armies are replenished, I will have over 1,000 available to me. So, and they don't really have, I don't think they have too many strong allies. Normally alliances should be communicated. We've got truces. There used to be a way to find alliances really quickly, but I don't... Ah, yes, it's under pacts. So, probably should have checked pacts before I sent my... Okay, so nothing there. But yeah, so there's an outside chance that we might be able to sort of push into Padua and get ourselves another title in the duchy. Now the drawback is that there's a lot of people who dislike me in this realm, and so my Chancellor is not going to be sort of, repairing those relationships. But here's how I'm going to counteract that. I don't have a lot of things for my Spymaster to do right now. So I'm going to keep my Spymaster in court scheming. Of course, the drawback is that my Spymaster doesn't like me very much. Hello, Ck2 I should have mentioned this off the top, actually. Kite is one of the big reasons I'm playing this game right now. Kite did such a great job of, communicating his excitement over Crusader Kings 2. And this is one of, obviously we've been fluctuating through the follower number quite a bit. And it's been a little bit of a source of stress, though not as much as sort of my communication of it might be. But the kite is a really great example of why I put a much higher weight in terms of the sort of the individual participation or the individual sort of presence in the channel. If somebody doesn't like my stuff, I can't necessarily change that. So it's better that they connect with things that they enjoy more themselves. But the level of excitement that Kite showed when I was back to Crusader Kings 2, and we'll be doing this for a while, so it made me feel really good. Like, I like the idea that I'm going to be able to make someone happy just by the choice of the game that I'm playing. So even if I'm not 100% in terms of my my presentation, like obviously it's taken me a little while to get into it today. This is just because I didn't have time to rest when I got home. So it's kind of, I'm sort of digesting the day, and then I'm seeing some bad news at the beginning of the cast. I needed a minute to sort of process it, but you're glad you're going to finally be able to watch Ck2 being played by someone who you can stand to watch long playthroughs on YouTube. That's a very good alternative, or a very good, another great reason for me to do that, actually. I didn't even think of that. YouTube's always a secondary thought for me, which is bad because I know some people watch it as sort of the primary means of watching me. Hello, YouTube. But obviously when it's live and there's people talking to you, it definitely gets your attention a little bit better. But yeah, so basically the idea here is that I still have a small risk in terms of the negative opinion of the Spy Master. But essentially what I'm counting on here is that my Spy Master will be good enough at scheming to prevent all the people who want to see me dead from succeeding. And that's the trade-off. Instead of doing the statecraft where people are sort of improving general relationships, I'm going pretty aggressive to see if I can get the squishy county of Padua. Now, in terms of my marshal, I think I'm going to double down on that, and we will train troops in Verona. Now, the big question here is whether I want to administer the realm or collect taxes. It's very tempting to do administer taxes. I've got a 38 here, 17.6 here. Obviously, 17.6 is not great, and I think that's because we just recently had a war. Well, the disease probably has something to do with that, too. In fact, it'll probably tell me if I mouse over. Nope, it just gives me a raw number. What about... Oh, okay. Apparently not. Oh, here we go. Secluded with courtier. No, none of these. All right. Well, I'll live with the mystery, I think. But yeah, we just recently acquired Treviso, and I believe, unless the Duke winds up sort of putting more claims on us, we can survive it. Now, we succeeded in a fight with them. Where is my liege? Interesting. They actually seem pretty weak, all told. But that's fine. I think I will live with potential the potential threat. As far as the air is concerned, yeah. So if this gets recombined, then I need to worry about this person. But if I can sneak Padua away, that'll be great for me. So, in this case, I'm just going to keep building up the prosperity. It's been devastated by plague, so I think that's the best. It would be nice to get some heavy tax revenue in, but I'll explain a little bit about what's going to be happening with the finances. We already said what we're going to be doing with the Spy Master, and there's lots of things that I can potentially do here. Under religion, we're still all Catholics, so no need to proselytize. I don't have any vassals who I want to convert. There's a couple of reasons why I'm not doing the research, by the way, but I think I'll wait a little bit later to explain that. And what I'm going to do here is just hunt apostates, and that'll give me some piety every month. It just, it's a resource that I can use a little bit down the road. So now might be a good time for me to sort of explain my long-term goals. I do, in this case, the goal is to get a title. Now the drawback is it's very unlikely that I'm going to get that title from my liege, who doesn't seem to like me very... Oh no, well, they sort of like me. But I don't have very good diplomacy. But I don't want to cancel the ambition yet, so we'll wait on that. But there are a couple of other things that I sort of need to deal with. Sorry, just getting an idea of what we're at. Because it's seniority succession, it's always a little tricky to figure out who's going to be the next one. K5, how are you doing? I owe you and Melemony an apology because I took a look at my Discord before going live, and obviously I missed out on Stellaris again. Part of that was due to some recording issues in terms of the Elder Scrolls episode, which I wound up having to push until Sunday anyway. And then I had to head out and get some other stuff done, and by the time I sort of got home, I was already like not thinking about Stellaris. And then I went and I saw the notification, hey, System Chalk, we're playing, and I felt really terrible, so very sorry. I'm not going to make a commitment in terms of going this Saturday because there's a lot on my plate right now. I will try, but the Saturday following, I will do my... Oh, you canceled. Okay. Well, it still makes me feel bad that you canceled, but... so I'm not 100%... I don't want to be the person who says, oh yeah, I'll be there, and then doesn't show up. So I'm not quite sure. I don't feel comfortable enough that I'd be able to promise for this Saturday, but the one following, I am very specifically going to carve the time out. And if I can surprise you, so much the better. For those of you who don't know, K5 is somebody who plays Paradox Grand Strategy games as well, and he's really the only person I've done substantial multiplayer Stellaris with, so... Alright, so talking about some sort of ambitions, maybe not the specific ambitions inside of the game, but some of the things that we're going to try and accomplish. I do need to get the money that I owe to the Jewish moneylenders taken care of. And really, I think the best way for me to handle that is just to earn it. So it's not great. There are other things that I sort of like to do, but in this case, I think the business focus is going to be the best way that I can do that. And in this case, it's going to mean that I don't develop my new province. So for instance, or my new county. So obviously, I'd love to build something into the castle town, or I'd love to improve walls or something like that. But for the time being, I'm just going to sit on this. I'm going to accumulate wealth. I'm going to pay off the money lenders, and that will give me some options in the future in terms of being able to sort of take on some other targets. Welcome back, Kite. I hope everything's all right. All right. So as far as designated regent is concerned, I mean, one thing I could do is just find like somebody with the best stats. It seems like I don't have a lot of really good diplomats inside of my well, you know what, there's no reason for me to make it so that the successor is the designated regent. Let's look for somebody who's got some good management skills. It's pretty thin bench, to be honest. I believe 8 is supposed to be average average ability, so all of my counselors are below average. Alright, well, congratulations. The person I didn't want is now... Alright. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I can do. No, I think what we're going to wind up doing here is we're going to unpause. And we are going to... Ooh, Count Gaimar of Verona fulfilled the ambition to gain a title. That must have been an ambition that he had beforehand. So if I had unpaused before, I might have changed... Wants to acquire more land and another title. So I can either become a Paragon of Virtue. If my piety goes up to 500, I gain 1 learning and 100 piety. Which is not bad. Let's see, I generate about 1 a month. I just don't think I'll live that long, so here I will acquire a title. I don't know why it doesn't give me the option to try and go for an air. I'd rather like one, but there we are. By the way, guys, so one of the things that I have been... So there was a Vulture interview with Rockstar today, and in it they sort of revealed that the team had been working on some 100-hour weeks to create Red Dead Redemption 2. And as is sort of the way with with gaming news, wow, Lombardy's really making some gains. Obviously, the Holy Roman Empire never really became a thing, but yeah, it as is usually the case with... Oh man, and looks like basically the only Catholic holdouts are the ones held by East Francia. The rest has been gobbled up by the one true faith, the other one true faith. But yeah, so I'm a little curious if anybody heard about this detail in terms of... So usually when news like this comes out, there's a big discussion about crunch that comes out. It's sometimes discouraging to find that there's not always a lot that changes, and I know my opinions on these things are usually unwelcome, or at the very least different from consensus, although personally I feel defensible in general terms. The one thing I always feel bad about whenever I comment on these issues is that I obviously have no stake in the gaming industry as anything but a consumer. And I sometimes worry that my sort of I don't know, like my commentary is unwelcome in the sense of like, oh yeah, some other guy with an opinion. I try to draw from what I know and what I think is appropriate in that analysis. Hey, Sean Bean, great to see you too. But yeah, I am curious if anybody heard of this article, and if anybody had any opinions in terms of the crunch news. Hey, Lovelust, great to see you again. Elder Scrolls is tomorrow, by the way. Although I know there's another big event that's happening. How are you doing? I've been very much enjoying your Oblivion playthrough. Okay. So he's a slightly better steward, but not as good as the current occupant. Yeah, I've got like no options here. And you know what? They're not even gonna be that good in like the Pope seat, or not the bishop seat. So I'm going to appoint Hlothier for the younger one. And for the older one, I'm actually going to let the Pope decide, because both of them are going to dislike me anyway. You're surprised to see me. I mean, I like watching your... I don't want to spend too much time watching it because I intend to play it on my own. But obviously, whenever I get a chance to see you play, I'll gladly take it. I just sort of struggle to see people on Twitch. So you know what? It's a little early for this, but it's taken me a bit to get into all of this. So let me get some shoutouts. I'll try and do them in order. So first of all, we've got Ck2 Now, Kite, I don't remember what you were playing last. I know it was Spider-Man recently, but I feel like no, it's Assassin's Creed or Odyssey. That was it. I was like, it's open world, you're running around, but you're not Spider-Man, but you kind of move like Spider-Man. And yes, Kite has been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it's funny because as much as I'm interested in ancient Greece, it didn't exactly catch my attention at the very beginning, but Kite's been doing a very good job of selling me on it. And Kite is a really friendly guy. He's someone who's known me through a few different iterations of Twitch. He's very steadfast, and he's actually one of the best people in terms of doing like co-casts and getting people involved that I really know. So definitely somebody to check out. I mean, I will still love those times that he played games like Portal and Battle Block Theater and whatnot. But really a stand-up guy and a very supportive streamer of a lot of people who who I've known over the time. And actually, it's worth mentioning, like, Kite supported a lot of these people, and generally, things have ended quite badly in terms of the people that he's shown this support for, which I've always felt bad about, but you can't always necessarily control these things. And despite Kite's steadfast support, he's also been able to sort of decompartmentalize some of the more almost like high schoolish aspects about streaming, which means a lot to me because I really like having him around, and I'm very accustomed to sort of people picking a given side and moving on, and oh, okay, I guess because somebody doesn't like me, I now don't get to talk to this group of people anymore. Kite's not like that, and especially when you're finding yourself on the out of a particular group, it really means a lot to have somebody say a kind word. So Kite is that type of person, and in addition to being a lot of fun to watch, he's somebody who's definitely been there through thick and thin for me. Not to be outdone, we've got K5, and I already gave you a bit of a hint here. Now, I think K5 is the one who I could best summarize almost as a science fiction streamer. He's done No Man's Sky, he's done Elite Dangerous, he's done Stellaris, and he originally found this channel when I was doing Surviving Mars. So I pretty much have always seen him with some sort of association with science fiction, although he did do a little bit of Skyrim, so I'm sort of cheating a bit there. But he's another broadcaster who doesn't use a camera, so if you happen to like that format, he does that well. And definitely very, very personable, and he's got a great community. I think one of the things that really got my attention when he hosted was there would always be these extra great people who are coming inside the broadcast and participating and being really pleasant. So especially if you're new to Twitch and maybe you're looking for a place to sort of hang your hat and get to know people, K5 is really great for that. And we're almost at the end, but there's so many great people inside here, I don't want to leave anyone aside. We've got Lovelust Games, who I believe I actually saw start a broadcast without a wig for the first time on the last time I saw her. But Lovelust Games is a member of the GOG stream team. Most recently watched her play The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. Somebody who's probably hosted and rated me a lot more than I've reciprocated, which is very nice. I always feel in her debt almost. But it's sort of unfair for me to introduce her in the sense of the Elder Scrolls, because her channel really does just about everything, and I personally benefit the most from her during the Cultist Simulator stream, at GOG when I was interviewing Weather Factory, Alexis Kennedy, and Lottie Bevan. She did an absolutely fantastic job of modding for me while I was there. But there is actually a wonderful broadcaster behind that. Behind that persona, even if I always want to talk about all the ways that I've benefited from her. And again, I mean, somebody who does a great job of sort of making you feel very welcome. She communicates her passion about a given game. And one thing that I've sort of liked is, I think during her sort of 10-year GOG stream for Oblivion, sort of talked about some of the directions in terms of Elder Scrolls that maybe don't work for her. And I think I tend to always be the counterpoint to some of these things. And it's always a hard role because I know some people don't necessarily like disagreement, but I think there's a bit of a testament in terms of Lovelust's ability to make sure that a chat stays on the level, that it doesn't become too disruptive when there are differing opinions inside of chat. And it is maybe only one of these things that you can appreciate as a broadcaster, but I have a great respect for the fact that she's able to express things that are not necessarily positive about the game, or to have a dialogue inside of the channel in which people do have sort of strongly held positions in terms of like where games are going, which is obviously a big topic where people can get nasty to each other. And to be able to maintain a chat where there's no need to say it's like, hey guys, maybe calm it down a little bit or something like that, just for it naturally to be a more productive conversation, is one of those things that I think is really impressive and kind of indicates a little bit of her ability to sort of maintain things and foster an environment like that. So obviously, it takes a while for me to get going and to digest all of these shoutouts and such. But these are some people who I think you might enjoy watching on Twitch. I can never guarantee what you'll find entertaining on here, but obviously there's a big matching problem that we're all trying to figure out, trying to find out where the best time for our entertainment is spent. And so here are some people who have been very, very kind to me, who have been very pleasant to watch, very pleasant to have inside of the chat, and people who I have enjoyed spending some time in their own channels. And hopefully you guys get a chance to watch them yourselves. All right, your steward, Bishop Alboin, wants to talk about the old tunnels under the castle. The argument is that they should be maintained better now that times are rough. You never know when you'll have to get out, and quickly. So I can say, great idea. You rummage through your things and hand Alboin a faded map of the tunnels. Or, oh, I see what you're doing. I'm not telling you anything, and I gain the trait. Doesn't hate me that much. What a splendid idea. My liege, Bishop Alboin catches up with you as you're strolling down the main hall. He looks concerned and you order him to spit it out, whatever the news. The tunnels, my lord, he breathes, and continues to tell you that it seems that somebody has been using them. The guards have stumbled upon tools and torches, recently used by the look of it. So this is a great opportunity for an ambush, or this is a disaster, seal the tunnels. Opportunity for an ambush. I haven't seen this event before, I want to see where it goes. Your guards have captured someone in the tunnels, however the person does not seem to be completely stable. Your guards' faces are not showing the usual bloodthirst when they present Valdemirsa the Fox, a starved-looking and oddly jumpy person. She's got some great stats, though. So you can say, let's hear what she has to say for herself, throw her in the dungeon, or it would almost be a mercy to execute her, you say. Let's hear what she has to say for herself. So she's a gray eminence, paranoid, proud, zealous, brave, lustful, stressed. I think we can come to some sort of an arrangement. You approach the locked door warily. Inside, Mirka is talking quietly to herself. The guards tell you that she claims to have had a lover at court. They were on the way back into the castle when her beloved fell ill. Devastated from the loss, she remained in the tunnels. She doesn't seem all there, my lord. So, poor thing, let her join my court, or can't risk it, she has to go and she gains the trait depressed. Oh, you know what? I feel like a kind-hearted, old, brawny, proud, ambitious, envious, brave, trusting... Oh yeah, if I'm trusting, I'll bring her in. Besides, she's lustful. Heading for bed after a late night snack when you hear steps behind you in the corridor. Who could it be at this hour? You halt, pretending to admire a tapestry, and the steps die out. Someone is definitely following you. As you enter your chambers, you draw your knife, hide behind the door, and await your pursuer. Go ahead. I am ready. As the door's handle slowly begins to move, you ready yourself for your ambush. A hooded figure steps over the threshold, but you keep a cool head and wait for the perfect moment to strike. The would-be assassin takes another step and you make your move. Skin and flesh gives way in the most satisfactory manner as you sink your knife into her back. Die, you filthy trollop! Who sent the assassin? Young Orson is showing tendencies to be more of a doer than a thinker. Yes, that would be the way to describe it. So we can say he should do his own thing. He loses rowdy and becomes dull. Or, I think I should focus on teaching him bravery. I will teach him bravery. Age 11, my kinsman Hildrick Adamini died of camp. Ooh, that's no good. I'm running out of people in the family to inherit. I need to start having babies. So, minor depopulation. A daughter was born to Aldemar and Matilde. Okay, lots of daughters in this. Was slain in personal combat. All right. So we're generally okay. Again, there's not going to be a lot for us to do because we're just going to be generating as much money as we can. And unfortunately, I'm going to be losing money from the plague. We've got depopulation. But hopefully camp fever goes away soon. Yeah, so that was partially the intention of talking a bit about crunch and sort of the latest news with regards to Red Dead Redemption. But then we got a whole bunch of... Well, first of all, we got a bunch of nice people visiting, which is great. But then we also got a bunch of... of game events that happened. Life in seclusion isn't so bad. After finishing a hearty breakfast, you belch contentedly and remark upon your foresightedness, and ensuing Verona's larders are well stocked. However, as soon as the words leave your lips, you notice the suddenly panicked look on your servant's face. My count, you just ate the very last pickled boar's head, and almost all of our other food stocks are nearing exhaustion. Furthermore, your servant continues to drone on, but you are too aghast to listen. No more pickled boar's heads? This isn't good. Alright, we might have to go out into the scary wide world. You've searched Verona from top to bottom and have come to realize that there are no more pickled boar's heads. Not only that, but all other food stocks are nearing exhaustion. Your servant really should have mentioned that. So, minor food shortage. With food supplies dwindling, it has been brought to your attention that in the basements of Verona contain large numbers of rats which could be caught and eaten. Yum! Okay, so I've got a bastard that needs teaching apparently. And she would be good at intrigue. Or learning, but let's go for intrigue. Nope, more education. Oh, there wasn't a main point. I was actually originally interested in sort of other people. We'll teach my my eventual heir duty. So with the news that Red Dead Redemption 2 had sort of 100-hour work weeks near release, it sort of seems that every once in a while there's going to be these stories of brutal crunch that come out. And it always brings up opinions, but it never necessarily generates more than that. So I was first kind of curious what people's thoughts were. I obviously have my own, but I'm actually interested in other people's thoughts. So we've got Zombie Ape, it looks like. Good evening. Would you care to explain what this game is about? It seems kind of interesting. I'm very happy to tell you what it's about. And actually, Zombie Ape, if you are thinking about getting this game, that is if you don't already own it, I should let you know there's a new DLC that is coming out in November. I think November 11th or 14th or something like that, which means normally when that happens, the game goes on sale. So if you are interested in the game, it's not a bad time to be interested. It kind of gives you enough time to set aside some pennies and get a discounted version. So this will be a long answer, but it'll be a thorough one. This is the world in the year 837. It may not be the world as you remember it from your history books. East Francia is where the Holy Roman Empire should be. Lombardy was not conquered, and apparently Austrasia is sort of a duchy or maybe even a kingdom. Nope, it's a kingdom. All right, so it looks like Pepin II, Charlemagne's son, is the owner of this state within East Francia. So what this game is about, it's best sort of described as sort of like a strategy sandbox, but this is a game all about the sort of the Middle Ages. You can start as early as 769, I believe, and it goes up to around 1337, I think. It might even go a little bit later, but basically you play a medieval ruler. Now, you've got lots of options in terms of what you can be. I'm playing a count, which is the lowest level that you can get, but if you have certain DLC, you can play in this case, a doge of a republic. You can play a duke, which is the next level up. You can play a king. I don't think we have any emperor. Oh no, the Byzantine emperor is an emperor. So you can be an emperor and have or empress in this case, have a really wide ranging area. And maybe you're not interested in Western, in sort of Western governance. Maybe you want to be a tribal leader, like in the Picts. Maybe you want to be a Viking. Or you could even go to the east. You could be, you could be in India. You could play a Mongol. There's all sorts of different things. Basically, if you can imagine it in sort of not even Europe. Maybe Europe and Asia is probably the best example. You get to play sort of a land-holding noble in this time period. So the reason why I say it's about the relationship between the vassal and their liege is that there's lots of different things that you can do. The score of the game is based on the combined prestige and piety of your dynasty. So basically, you'll play generations of this family, and the family will have holdings. It may not even necessarily have the same holdings over time, but basically you will have some kind of land, and you're going to be telling the story of this family that, holds and hopefully grows its power in the Middle Ages. Obviously, in the Middle Ages, things are very, there aren't really states in the way that we think of them right now. Now, I'm a member of the Kingdom of Lombardy, so things are a little bit more stable than, say, up in England. But this idea here is that I sort of have a title to some land, and I have a claim on the things that the serfs on the land produce. And in exchange, I've got an agreement with my liege lord, which in this case is a duke, or in this actually specifically the Duchess, Theodorata of Friuli. And basically, I will provide a certain level of reinforcements or soldiers in exchange for sort of the protection that comes from this. And in her own case, she is the vassal of King Edelkis II, the Holy of Lombardy. So a lot of what this game is about is how do you navigate those relationships. A really fun thing that happened here, I'm going to just quickly read this little story event. The wolves' territory has crept closer to the castle, and more sheep, pigs, and chickens vanish every day. So we can say the wolves are not to blame. Every village will fight them together. Or, give me my sword, I'll deal with them. I will deal with them myself. I'm just going to read these notes as well. Okay, so we've got a new bishop, which means I have... Oh, that's really interesting. So it was actually the court chaplain that died first, it looks like. All right. Well, it's only my spy master that'll... Well, we'll get this over with. He'll already have a place on the council, so I'll be good with that. And there's only one possible court chaplain, and he's terrible at his job, so we'll get the formality over with. But yeah, so basically, you are, if you think about it compared to some other games, so in a game like Europa Universalis or Civilization, you're the state. You don't necessarily control an individual, but because this is about the Middle Ages and the individual relationship between a vassal and their lord, this has sort of a role-playing element to it. You've got stats that govern who your character is. So in terms of my abilities, I'm not a very good diplomat, but I am very good at the arts of war. I'm not a bad steward, sort of a manager of resources. I'm passable at intrigue, but I'm not the brightest. I'm not very good at learning. Some other descriptions of my character: he's a skilled tactician, brawny, proud, ambitious, envious, brave, and trusting. There's some other status effects that are affecting me as well. So, for instance, there's a disease going on in my court. It looks like it's breaking up soon, though, so I should be able to get out of seclusion. But all of these things are going to affect sort of how my character behaves. Now, your individual ruler is not as important as the bloodline. Again, you want to maintain your holdings, and ideally you want to grow them. So the last thing that happened last playthrough was we managed to take this bit of land from the Duke. Now, the reason the Duke doesn't hate this character is because that was the previous character I was playing. So the grudge sort of died with the person who started the war. But what you do in this game is very much determined by what you, the player, and what your character wants to do. So right now, I owe 350 wealth to Jewish moneylenders, and so I'm slowly building up my treasury to pay that off. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is I want to have the option of borrowing more money if somebody comes to try and invade. I'm currently trying to survive this outbreak of camp fever in Verona, my capital. I've got a council of people, and all of these people are simulated inside the game. They have their own character, the AI is playing them, and they're going to want to achieve their own ambitions. So all of these people are on the council. They have things that they want to accomplish. I have things I want to accomplish. The Duke has things they want to accomplish, and the King has things that they want to accomplish. And so it's this wonderful game where everybody has something that they want, and what this is about is trying to navigate all of these complex relationships in a way that you can turn it to your advantage. So some of the things that I'm working on right now, I've got a Chancellor who's actually quite good at what they do. Their diplomatic ability is 18, and given that 8 is about a representation of what the normal, or sort of what your normal person can do, they're very skilled, and what they're doing here is they're fabricating a claim. For some reason, it's a 0% chance that they'll claim Padua. That has to be a mistake. In this case here, they're making this claim. Oh, you know what? It's because they're behind the walls. Okay, let's open up the gates. So now we're no longer in seclusion, fearing the disease. However, the countryside has been harmed by the epidemic. By the way, I do see you there, Eyes of Sin. Sorry, I was explaining the game. So I left you aside. A Scythian? You can play a Scythian in this, I believe. To the brave Count Gaimar, peace be with you. We've decided to offer you a position of commander. Do you accept? I do accept. Making you want to play this? I mean, the biggest reason you'd want to play this is that, well, I've already got a wife. Let's see. Okay. Well, nope, she's got a husband. Nope, both of my daughter. Okay. Well, hopefully, so one of the ways that you can continue your bloodline, obviously, is by making babies. So there's medieval Tinder in this game where you can actually, like, try and find the best match for your family to try and advance your goals. And there's lots of mods for this. So there's a Game of Thrones mod for this. I think there might be an Elder Scrolls mod. There's definitely a Witcher mod. But yeah, basically, you know, the reason why I'm giving this big, complicated explanation about what this game is that at the most basic level, you are playing individuals in a family trying to survive history and become one of these great families who, you know, even today in the modern age, they just still have land holdings and untold wealth. But how you do that will be everything from deciding who you assassinate to, I mean, you can join religious societies. Like if you want, you can say, hey, I've been a little curious about Satanism. Do you think I could join the satanic group? There's just tons of different things that you can do inside of the game. And so that's why I say it's a medieval sandbox. Like if you want, the score of the game is your prestige, sort of your renown and your piety, how good of a religious individual you are. But you can totally ignore that score and you can just say, you know what, I want to play some count down in Africa and I'm going to conquer all of Western Europe. So... Oh, you own and play this a lot. Sorry, Lovelust. So yeah, I'm just saying stuff that you already know. But Zombie Ape, that's sort of the really broad overview. The game seems very complicated, and I would argue that it's hard to learn, easy to master. But the thing that is so great about this game is that you will get 101 different stories about these things that you try. Like, I really wanted to get this done, and so I didn't really want to do it, but I wound up like marrying my sister so that we could produce an heir and make sure that we didn't lose these titles. And well, of course I dumped the bishop in boiling oil. He wasn't paying me enough money. I needed a replacement and it was available. Or, you know, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna marry off my 6-year-old because I really need that alliance. Like, this game makes you say the most appalling things as if they were totally natural, because that is just the way that the mechanics wind up working, and it's great. So if you have any specific questions about the game, and that applies to anyone, definitely feel free to ask. But the best that I can say is that this is just a giant playground for you to play in any, in any country, any region, any state that you want, and you can go from everything down to the lowest count. We started just as the Count of Verona, and we're slowly trying to work our way up to Duke, King, Emperor, and eventually World Master. All right, so looks like we lost another one now. Gaimar really wants this role. Let's just see what we're working with here. I can't appoint any successors. Well, that's a shame. Okay, how much does my... So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking a quick look at my vassals and seeing what Gaimar is paying me. So I'm losing 11% off of his being upset. I think I can live with that. Now he is Jewish, so I think just to make sure that the Pope isn't too mad at me, I'm going to proselytize and see if we can bring him to the other true faith. Are you looking forward to Holy Fury at all, Loveless Games? Sounds like you'd really enjoy that. Thanks for explaining it. You'll look tomorrow and see if you can buy it somewhere. Yep, I mean, if you want to get it right away, you can. In November, it will go on sale. So if you want to play it right away, obviously you pay up. If you can wait a little bit for it, it should be on sale when the new DLC goes on. I will also say Zombie Ape. Obviously, I'm going to play this every Monday if you want a hand on how to play it. But on my YouTube, I should have some of my old playthroughs on there. So youtube.com/systemchalk. I don't envy your task in trying to find it, some of the playthroughs. But if you want to see how I started this playthrough and sort of give, like, for my... This is probably the third session that I've been playing. So if you want to see how I approached the game from the very beginning, you're going to be able to see everything that I do in this on my archives. And my streams are about 3 or 4 hours long, so it's very detailed, and you'll be able to see every detail. And obviously, I mean, the best way to learn this game is just to throw yourself into it and have some fun. But if you do have any questions that emerge, definitely feel free to come back and give me a poke, and I'll do my best to answer as best as I can. And then, of course, Paradox has very active forums, and they'll probably do an even better job than me of answering these things. So, where were we? Yes, I got to say hello to Eyes of Sin. I'm going to take a quick minute and see... I guess Scythians would fall under culture, so I'll take a quick look there. But a son was born to Hildrick, Adamini, and Theodolina. All right, so we've got another member of the family. Again, I want to make sure everybody's producing babies when I can. Sigir says, "How are things going?" That's about the best quick explanation of CK2 you've ever heard. I don't know how quick it was, but I'm glad that you approved, because the thing is, this is the very first Paradox game that I played, and I learned it on stream, and that was an absolutely fantastic experience. I loved it, and I was really excited to come back to this. Oh, you know what? There may not be. But so obviously getting a chance to sort of return to this game that I'm so interested in, and to maybe go from sort of first principles. Now, the one drawback is that this is probably going to wind up being a playthrough that gets cut short, because if the new patch is out in November, it's very unlikely that I'm going to make it to the very end by then, especially because I tend to do things fairly slow. But yeah, I think you're right. Yep, sorry, Sin, there's no... Oh wait, this isn't doing the search that I want. I'll figure... I don't remember when they sort of left the world stage. That's because I'm really bad at this kind of history. But yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, I think probably the way I'll do it is if I don't have a copy of Holy Fury, then I'll just revert the patch back to this one and we'll continue on with this playthrough. But I'd like to cover Holy Fury if they see fit to toss me a key. And if that's the case, I mean, if you guys are interested in seeing a Lombardy playthrough, I don't mind doing one. So we can maybe just start as the Count of Verona again and do round 2. Maybe I can be a member of the Byzantine Empire that declares independence and conquers the Boot. We'll see. Maybe look your streams up tomorrow, but you think it's more fun to dive. That's how I learned at Zombie Ape. So I would, if you feel comfortable doing that, I think you will have a better time if you engage the game on your own terms. But as always, even if it's like a year from now and you're like, man, I really don't know how this thing works, I'd love to have you stop by and ask any questions that you think are relevant. Obviously, I'm always happy to get concurrent viewers, but I think more importantly, games like this are a lot more fun when you have people to share them with and when you have an active player base. I mean, this game is over 5 years old now. So it'd be great. I sort of feel that my job in streaming this is to sort of, for the people who are on the fence and would otherwise enjoy the game but find it a little bit intimidating, or they don't know if they want to spend the money on it or not, I sort of feel like my job is to help people make that decision as best as they can. So Loveless Games, I gotta ask you, what do you... Oh, you've got a question for me too. So what do you normally play in Crusader Kings 2? And absolutely I'm going to check out the Cultist Simulator expansion. Not only that, but I am going to be streaming it on the Steam page. And I think that means I get on the Steam front page. So that one, as soon as the DLC comes out at 2 o'clock Eastern time, so that's in... Oh god, I already worked this out, but 4 hours to midnight, 6 hours to 2, and then 12 hours on top of that. So in 18 hours, I will be checking out the Cultist Sim expansion for myself the first time on live on Steam in front of God knows how many people. Of course, I expect all of you to be there. All right, Holy War declared by the Lombard King on King Dalmir the Butcher. I'm not a commander, am I? Oh, of Poland. All right. This is okay. So I'm talking about doing something on Steam, and now we declared war on Poland. I'm pretty sure I'm dead to GOG now. All right. Somebody owes me a favor. I don't have much to do. Oh, here we go. When casually strolling around the premises, as often you do, you come across Mayor Magnulf sitting at his desk overburdened with work. Seeing this as the perfect opportunity to help him out and perhaps gain a favor in return, you offer a helping hand. He looks at you with heavy eyes and for a moment decides to accept your offer. I wasn't doing anything important anyway. Alright, so it looks like we've got an unmarried daughter. That won't do. So let's go to Medieval Tinder, and he's a bit young. Yeah, all the Lombards are... I think this might work. So he's only got a year until his 16th birthday, so, you know, good 28-year-old wife. Cardinal Crate the Holy was given a seat in the College of Cardinals. And the County of Verona has no longer depopulated. Cool. Peace be with you. I've decided to accept your suggestion of the betrothal between Valdemirka and Count Grimoald. For those of you who are interested in the Cultist Simulator stream, so the best you can probably do is just to open up the Steam page, and I should be there right at the start. Another alternative that you can try is, if you're on the Discord, I will put a link inside there, and then on Twitter I'll also put a link. Oh, that reminds me. If you tire of Cultist Simulator, there is the event for the next Elder Scrolls playthrough. I'm going to try and put those up as early as I can, because I noticed that some people have been asking for reminders of those. So I believe that link will give you an option to sort of get a little ping when the broadcast goes live. A group of craftsmen have come to your court to show off their work. They present you with fine goods, of which you are sure that there would be demand for in the realm. Noticing your interest, the craftsmen ask for some capital to set up a workshop, saying that they lack the funds to do so on their own. Now, this is tricky, because obviously it's a lot of money for this character, and I do want to pay off my debts, and it's not guaranteed that I'll get a return on this investment, but in this case, I want to encourage capital accumulation in Verona, so we will we'll take the risk. Your steward comes to see you one afternoon. He explained that he has devised a plan to bring exotic goods by setting up a trade route with a foreign realm. This, of course, would require a sizable monetary investment, but the potential profits would also be great. Let's do it. So the time has come to outfit a ship for a trading expedition. The harbor master shows you a large ship with a sizable cargo hold that would be perfect for the job, but it comes at quite a hefty price. To spend money to make money will bring the word is spread that you're planning a travel expedition, and a group of priests have arrived at your court with a request. They are offering temple funds for the journey if you will allow them to come along on the journey. Yes, we will. They'll be mad at me afterwards, but I believe I'm not getting tax money from them anyway, so I'm okay with them getting mad. It's time to set out on the trading expedition. Hopefully it will yield a good profit. To foreign lands. Okay, let's see what's going on here. To the strong Count Gaimar, peace be with you. We propose that Grimald... yes, that was the betrothal that I already set up. Obviously, I want to get rid of those idle family members. My God. We're definitely not doing that. I guess I could order her to take the vows. She doesn't like me, so she won't come to my court. Well, that's fine. Alright, let's see what the trade winds bring our way. Who do we have? Oh! The King of Denmark. Your expedition has finally reached the realm of King Myrr II. Your steward asks what kind of gift we shall bring forth as a token of our friendship. So we can spend 30 for a dozen strong horses, but I think I just need a positive opinion. So let's bring a chest with quality... well... so it costs twice as much, gives me 3 times as much. We'll do the quality cloth. At dinner, you notice the king's face growing red with annoyance. He glares at your steward for shoveling his food in with his bare hands. So I will throw my steward under the bus. You're walking idly by the court of the king when you suddenly hear a discussion of increasing intensity around the corner. Turning the corner, you're surprised to see one of the priests from your expedition engaged in a wild theological debate with a local noble. This could endanger the whole venture. So, chance that I gain Zealous, which is not the worst trade in the world for me to get, but we sort of wash out the opinion. So in this case, we'll say this must be stopped, and this is one of the reasons I checked this right away, is that they like the Pope more than me, so we'll say I'll deal with the favorite hit. After long hours of negotiating and discussing possible terms of trade, you and the king seem to have arrived to a mutual understanding. This will be a profitable agreement. Hopefully, I get a little bit more money than I would. Well, so the money that I'll get, I think, is always set. But the idea that I spent less obtaining it will mean that there's more for my coffers. So with a new trade route setup, you set up the first batch of goods. You return with the first batch of goods and sell them off for a nice profit. The influx of new wares will also benefit the economy for a long time to come. More money is always needed, so we gained 153 gold for it. I think we spent was something like 50 on the boat, and then 15 for the cloth. That's a pretty decent return. We'll give some of that back to the Chancellor, but 150 prestige, prosperity in my capital increases slightly. I gain a bonus to my stewardship, and city vassals like me more. So we'll sit back on the profits a bit. There we go. My steward has brought in riches to my realm through his competent handling of the trading expedition, and he probably expects to be rewarded with a share of the wealth. So I can say he's just doing his job. What's it going to cost me? 31? Yeah, just doing your job. So obviously here, these are enemies sort of gallivanting around eastern Lombardy. But the big thing is, I mean, obviously if they siege my provinces, that's going to be a problem because that's an invading army on my territory, which is, you know, ruining my prosperity. But while I've dedicated troops to my liege, like frankly, this is not my problem. I'm just a lowly count, minding my own business. Padua got strong, unfortunately. So the question is whether or not I want to continue pushing the claim or not. I mean, I'm no slouch myself. I've got 1.54k to back up my words. And the better thing is that I'm actually, like, they have to take a while to move them up. So, Melemony, how are you doing? I gave my apologies to K5, but I definitely owe you one as well for being a flake on Stellaris. I guess there were no opinions on the Red Dead Redemption thing, huh? I mean, obviously we can just keep playing Crusader Kings, but it's just a chance for me to get a little bit of dialogue in while we're waiting to pay off our debts. Punishment will be swift and severe. I'm going to play a fanatic pacifist, and you're all going to feel really, really bad for saying nasty things about me. Well, it's not as bad as... So for those of you who want to see how this game can still be fun when you're screwing up, I definitely struggled quite a bit with the fact that, like, I spent a lot of money trying to get Treviso, and then I then my lord basically immediately took it away. And yeah, like, basically we spent a whole lot of money and we didn't get anything, but at the very end we were able to take Treviso. So now I'm thinking a little bit about what the next step is basically going to be. And I mean, there are some things that I can, there's some things I can try. There are some things that are maybe not so good. But overall, I think we've landed on our... The most important thing is that we have more land, we have more stuff now than when we started the game. So, Young Orson has finished his education in stewardship. It seems he has learned all the basic skills required. He is a thrifty clerk. -1 to diplomacy, +3 to stewardship, and +5 to fertility. Get married, have kids. Ah, she grew up to be homosexual. Should have annulled the betrothal. The heroic Count Gaimar, blessings on you and your house. I accept your suggestion that Orson and Marizoa get married. Oh, and he's lustful too. Have fun, you two? So obviously, it's not the most exciting goal for me to have in this game to get 350 wealth, but this is a great example about how, just because the fireworks aren't going off doesn't mean that you're not gaining an advantage in this game. So right now, I'm just sitting down and watching some numbers tick up. And that is sometimes what Crusader Kings is. But here are some examples about some things that can sort of kick off on a moment's notice. So, I've risen so fast to the top that other people regard me with envy. Could they be any more envious? Bishop Thralfir begged me to help him become as successful as me. It is almost disgusting how he admired my ambition and success. I'll teach you, but I'm gonna charge you 10 gold. Yep. Is this the basic game, or do you have DLCs that you can recommend? I don't necessarily have DLCs I can recommend because there's quite a few. This is definitely not the basic game. This is every DLC except the Ruler Designer and Sunset Invasion. But I'm going to give you a link that I think you'll find helpful. So this is the Crusader Kings 2 Wiki. And what you will find, this is exactly what I was talking about in terms of things that might pop up. So I'm going to take a minute after I explain the Ck2 Wiki and why I mentioned it. We need to decide about what we're going to do about this. So Ck2 Wiki on the far, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of things in terms of figuring out how systems work and such, but the most important thing is that on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see all of the DLC for the game. Sword of Islam, Legacy of Rome, Sunset Invasion, The Republic, Old God, Sons of Abraham, Rajas of India, Charlemagne, Way of Life, Horse Lord's Conclave, Reaper's Due, Monks and Mystics, Jade Dragon, and Holy Fury. Now all of these games have, or all of these DLC have free patches associated with them, and then there are some paid features behind them. So if you don't want to play a Merchant Republic, there's very little reason to buy the Republic. If you don't want to play, a Caliphate, maybe Sword of Islam won't be for you. There's just different things in different DLC, which is why it's sometimes difficult for me to personally recommend some individual ones. I would definitely say the best way to approach a game like Crusader Kings 2 is to look at what you're interested in. So for instance, I am very much interested in Merchant Republic. So the Republic was like the very first one that I got. So was Legacy of Rome. I've got a Muslim friend, so I thought I'd get Sword of Islam because he loves talking to me about about history, and I thought it would be really fun to tell him is like, aha, I know exactly what you're talking about because, and then, I can drop my own little historical tidbits that I've learned from playing this game. So I definitely think the best way for you to start is just play the basic game, because the base mechanics are going to be the same no matter what. And then I think the best way to pick DLC is to look at what you like to do in the game. So if you really like manipulating all the people's interests against each other, Conclave is great because your council becomes powerful, and you basically need to sort of fight your own vassals to try and achieve some of your goals, and that's why I really like Conclave. If you sometimes find like some of those things, that idle time when I was building up my wealth, if you're like, well, I kind of wish I had stuff to do, Monks and Mystics is great for that because you can join a society and there's just lots of things to do inside of that. If you want to go for an earlier start, then the Old Gods and the Charlemagne expansions are pretty much a must. So the best way that I can recommend it personally is go with your interests in two regards. One, you want to play things you're interested in. So if you really want to play, an Irish count, you should play an Irish count. If you want to play somebody in the Byzantine Empire, you should do that. There's really nobody to sit down. Even if people tell you what the easiest start is for Crusader Kings 2, it is your playthrough, and I think you should go with what's going to keep you going for hours and hours on end while you learn the game. And once you've spent a bit of time inside the game, that's sort of my secondary interest, which is it's not just you should kind of get DLC, which is sort of themed around things that you're interested in. So if you don't want to play a Scandinavian country, why in the world would you get, the Old Gods? The next thing that you want to do is you want to say, well, what am I most interested inside the game? So if you really like the role-playing elements, Way of Life is great for that because it gives you a bunch of different focuses that you can do, and it gives you a little more of a chance to sort of flesh out your individual character's personality. Whereas if maybe instead you were a bit more about, if you had, a great one in terms of, historical orientation would be Horse Lords. If you want to play sort of a group of nomads running across, invading everything and becoming prosperous that way, that would be a really good one to pick up. So as always, it's one of these like it depends kinds of answers, but that's more of a somebody's hosting me. Melemony, thank you very much for the host. But that's probably the best that I can give you in terms of how that's probably the best that I can give you in terms of some ways to navigate it, which is there's lots of DLC to get. There's not going to be any shortage of things that you can experience inside the game. But if you go to that Crusader Kings 2 wiki and some of those titles attract your attention, it will actually tell you what paid features you get in each one, and that'll probably help you with your purchasing decisions. Thank you very much for the host, Melemony. Okay, so Padua is in play. So he's got 1.4k. He looks like he's basically at his top levies. Now the really lucky thing for me here is that the majority of his forces are going to be down in Salerno, so we can probably present him with a fait accompli by the time he moves up. The drawback is that, 167. So it's going to cost me 64 gold, but the real thing I'm worried about is one of these groups kind of comes running over and just crushes me in Padua, but I think this is an opportunity. So remember how I was saying is like, we're watching the wealth tick up and there's not a whole lot going on? Well, all the while in the background, my Chancellor was getting a 20% chance of fabricating a claim. And so I wanted to make sure I was in a position to be able to use it. And so in this case, I can add a third territory to my holdings for some reason. Now, it's not without risk, but I think it's a fairly reasonable one. And so part of this is just about making sure that I sort of move the pieces where I feel like they need to go to make sure that I'm able to take opportunities like this. So we'll spend the 64 gold for the claim. And we will... Why can I not declare war? They must be our liege or a vassal of our liege. That sucks. Nope, and I died. You have a new heir, your character If your character dies, you will now play as Orsum Adamini. Count Gaimar has given up the ghost at age 56. He died a natural death. Guilty of the sin of pride, he wanted everyone to know his greatness. A wicked man, Gaimar will surely pay for his sins in the afterlife. And Hildrek. Count Hildrek, blinded by religious fervor, heathens and heretics alike come to fear his righteous fury. Long live Count Hildrek. Alright, well, I did say we were going to do one stream for each character, so... Good game, guys. That was a lot of fun. See you next week. Oh, I'm kidding. Am I a member of a society? Yes, I am a Benedictine. We won't change the allocation. Now the real question is if I inherited the claim. Did not inherit the... Yeah, so I spent 67 wealth and I got literally nothing for it. But I did get some important information that apparently, because I am not... because the relationship isn't... what was it? So they must be our liege or a vassal of our liege. So because he is not... I'm not a vassal of the king. Yeah, no point in carrying on with it, so... I don't have a lot of options available to me in terms of expansion. So I guess we're gonna go for Aquileia. I can also assign a designated regent. I don't know if I want to, but let's see what we can get. She's not the worst. We'll put Orson in place just because he's kind of got average stats, and he is going to be the one who sort of inherits the kingdom anyway. So this is a drop. Obviously, this is a setback. Like the intention was to try and get that claim on Padua, which didn't happen. But we'll move on from that. So thank you for the link and the explanation. Yeah, no problem, Zombie. Like I said, this stuff is always better when you have lots of people who are interested in. So you love this game. This and Arena have become highlights of your week. Oh, thank you very much, K5. That means a lot to hear, especially coming from you. So just 1 second. Okay, so gained a title because he inherited everything. So our ambitions, we can acquire a title, become a counselor, build a war chest, groom an heir. Okay, let's try become a counselor because I think that's going to happen anyway. I should be a powerful vassal for my duke. And I am going to still do a bit of a business focus. This is just so that I can get enough wealth to take down the money lending. But we're going to change that. I think I'm probably going to go either learning or diplomacy for this guy. Okay. I can request a counselor position for 50 prestige. Or she can just offer me one. The Great Wit Hilderic, your wisdom and mercy are legendary. I would like to give you a seat on my council and therefore offer you the title of Chancellor. I'll take that. What do I get? Apparently just a bonus opinion, so... But good diplomatic relations aren't bad. So, my next ambition. Groom an heir, build a war chest, or acquire a title. So build a war chest is actually a good idea, because I'll get the 300 wealth before too long, and then I can move on to groom an heir, which will give me a bonus to fertility. Ooh, but my wife is 35 years old, and isn't really into men. Oh, but I already have a son, so good news. So I could extort subjects, but I don't want to do that because that has long-term consequences. All right. Looks like Lombardy keeps expanding eastward. How are the relations with the bishops? Pretty deplorable. Alright, and it looks like my liege is also declaring some wars to expand her own territory. So what might wind up happening is I wind up sort of gobbling things to the right. So like basically all the territories sort of wind up shifting rightward while my liege sort of claims all these titles. And then I wind up claiming the titles from them. So we'll see how it goes though. I do sometimes take a look at the economy. So obviously I want Verona. This is one of the reasons why I was focused so much on Padua. But until I'm basically freed from my my status, something happened, but it went away. Pope Innocentus II for the Lombardy faction was led by Duke Lambert III of Modena, has disbanded. I can live with that. Meyer Ricred has arrested an armed man with ragged armor and a spotty horse. He says the man claims to be a hedge knight, but he clearly does not believe that statement. So the mayor can get mad at me for so the net for me is 15 Pristy. I can make the piety back. Yep, clearly abandoned. I also don't know what a hedge knight is. Oh, and Eyes of Sin, I got your message. I'm very happy. I felt very bad that I did not say hello to Eyes of Sin right away, but apparently she is cooking dinner, so just wanted to say hello and thank you. Alright, so we've got some prestige that we can get from this. We're marrying off. Yeah, that's right. Get the bastards out of the family home. Blessings on you and your house. I accept the suggestion that these two get married. Grand. Do I have anybody that I want to marry off? Princess of Francia, you say? You never know. I don't know if it says what the succession laws in actually, you know what? That's not as big of a prize as it used to be. Alright, let's think a little bit about what I'm doing with my folks here. So I think training the troops is still the right call. Fabricating the claim is still the right call. Debatable whether or not I want to continue administering the realm, but I think I'm going to in order to sort of improve prosperity. I do have an upset counselor, so in this case I will continue to scheme and let us continue to proselytize in Verona to bring my steward to the one true faith. So incidentally, the reason why I am trying to fabricate the claim on my lord is I'd kind of like the title for myself. It's possible that I'll be able to get it this way, but if nothing else, it gives me an opportunity to sort of gobble up some more some more land. And this is one big thing for me, right? It's that I'm sort of thinking to myself, well, you know, nobody else is a vassal of my liege, so, you know, at this point, there's only one person that I can acquire land from, and if they're not strong enough to be able to defend it, then that's, you know, them's the breaks. So I've encountered Donatus Elfnoth many times while carrying out my duties for the Benedictine Order. It is always a pleasant occasion. We can talk for hours if the time will allow, because he never bores me. While our discussions are often lengthy, we always seem to agree on matters that are most important. I think this is friendship. God's blessing, Donatus Hildrek. The Order and God cares much for the souls of our members. As such, we would like to advise you to go on a pilgrimage, since you have not yet done so. Very well. Now I think I actually have to have a very specific... Oh no, I can go on a pilgrimage. We'll go right now. I shall go on a pilgrimage to seek God's grace at one of the holy places of Christianity. I will start making travel plans. There are a number of different holy places that you could visit on your pilgrimage. All of them are considered most sacred by the Holy Church, but a somewhat closer destination might mean a safer journey. Well then, let's go to Rome. Jerusalem and Rome are the two oldest, holiest places of the Catholic Church. I will go to Rome and see the tombs of the apostles. My things are packed, everything is in order. Soon I will walk the streets of the Eternal City and see all of its marvels. My journey begins. Dear brother, your wisdom and mercy are legendary. I have been appointed your regent. As you camp at night, a large group of fellow pilgrims appear. They have traveled far and wide and are hungry and out of food. You look through your supplies, but you have just over half a dozen loaves of bread and a few fishes. Share it around. It's more filling than it looks. So I lost 5 for that, but I gained charitable, which is a pretty good diplomatic trait, which will help round out my character. Alright, Rome. You have finally arrived at Rome. As you enter the Eternal City, you are struck by the many ancient buildings and monuments that you pass by. It is truly impressive, and you try to imagine how the apostles felt when they first came here on their holy mission at a time when the city's power was at its peak. Though large areas seem to be depopulated, the city still boasts an impressive population concentrated around the Tiber River. The holy sites you want to visit are particularly the basilicas of St. Peter and St. Paul, as well as the other early churches and places connected to the martyrs. You start making your way to the center of the city, hoping that you won't get lost in traffic as the crowds start to get more dense. 1,000 roads lead men forever to Rome. And then I lose my faith because why not? The stories of other pilgrims all spoke of how impressive this place is. Now you can see it with your own eyes, you can only join in their praise. You are glad that you came here to one of Christianity's most holy places. It was well worth the journey. 20 piety. Obviously the main reason for me doing this is to satisfy my society, but you finally returned from your pilgrimage. It was a rewarding and interesting journey, and you'd do it all again if you could. Still, it's good to be back home. Now, the nice thing about going on a pilgrimage is that you get 0.10 monthly piety, so if you do that early on in your life, then it actually works quite well for you. So a great experience, gain 30 piety. Regency is ended. Blessed Donatus Hildrek, we are pleased to hear that you have safely returned from your pilgrimage, and trust that it was an inspiring experience for you. Sign Conversus Ck2. How long are you going to stream? Because you're really interested in the stream in the game, but it's almost 3 a.m. here. So Zombie Pie, I was going to do a bit of a shorter stream tonight, but I still probably have at least another hour left inside me. So I wouldn't worry too much if you can't see the whole thing. Here's the big thing. So in terms of Twitch, you're going to be able to see this VOD for 2 weeks. And then it's going to be put on YouTube, and if you remember the stream title, that'll be good. So, if I were you, I would get some sleep because you're going to feel like crap all day tomorrow if you don't. And then, you know, you can, if you have any follow-up questions or something like that, you know, you can tweet me, you can stop by the stream again on another time. There's lots of other things that you can do. So I still probably have another hour to go, and I don't want to be responsible for you not feeling great. So, and I can't remember if you're following already, but if you do follow and turn on the notifications, every Monday when I start streaming, you'll get a notification as well. But if you prefer to just hang out whenever you can, I do this every Monday starting between 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern time. So, oh, I didn't notice what I got for that, but that's fair. During this evening's council mission, Spymaster Ademir told us of a rumor that he had encountered. The peasant spoke of an artifact hidden not far from here. The specifics of his information are uncertain, but perhaps this would be worth investigating. I think we will do exactly that. So in 8 wealth, I'm going to get the... so there's a multiplier effect here. When I build my war chest, I'm going to get a 10% bonus to my revenues. And then with that, over time, I'm going to get closer to paying off the moneylenders, which helps me even more. So Spymaster Ademir has uncovered several clues indicating that the chief of Kolomna possesses important information regarding the rumored artifact. However, he's unwilling to talk, and Ademir wants more spies transferring from their regular missions to target the chief instead. The artifact is of great importance. The spies are yours. And that's how I wound up assassinated. I'm also kind of curious if I'd be able to take over Venetia. Alright, Count Hildrix of Verona fulfilled the ambition to build a war chest. So, I've got a kid who's 4, so this is going to take about 12 years or so. But in this case, I am going to go for Groom and Heir. Actually... 12 years. We'll go... I'll try going for it, but... This might not be the smartest decision. The title one might have been a bit better. What's the learning required for this again? Jesus, 16. Alright, looks like I lost my marshal, and he won't turn up again. But fortunately, we've got somebody who was previously mad at me, so we'll be able to make that work. Oh yeah, no worries, Zombie Ape. I like to do as best as I can to remember, but obviously it's, you know, it's definitely not, the fault is with me for not recalling. But yeah, I figure it never hurts to let people know their options. But yeah, I mean, if you're already following, then either when you drop by the following section or if you put on the alert or whatever, you'll know when I'm going on. But honestly, if you want to build a schedule around it, every Monday I do this. And if Mondays don't work out for you, the VODs will always be up for 2 weeks following the stream. And then I will put them on basically permanently on YouTube. Although the problem is that YouTube is very disorganized except for the Elder Scrolls playthroughs. Okay, decision time, because again, I'm so close to getting the money away from the Jewish moneylenders. So, her strength is 1100. My strength is 1100. So in this case, what is it? It is the county, not the duchy. How wealthy is it? I mean, it's probably my best option at the moment, but in this case, I will say, let it go. I will gain some piety. It's a bit of a waste of my... Actually, while I'm at it, we'll perform some statecraft. So the reason I did this is just her strength is equivalent. It might actually be a little bit better than mine now. Yes, it is. So it would be a very tough fight ahead of me. And then on top of that, this mayor is not great, but we'll work with it. Basically, I'm just going to try and maximize the revenues coming in here. What do we have? I'm going to try and get some alliances just in case anything funny happens. Alright, so this will give me a little bit of a leg up if my liege wants to try anything. But basically, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to... Where is this place? I'm going to sit down, I'm going to wait for an opportunity, and then I'll maybe re-attempt the claim. But right now, it's a little too even for it to be worthwhile for me. So we'll sit down, we'll keep to our knitting, and we'll focus more on being able to pay off our debts and sort of rebuild our wealth. The devil must have cast a curse on me in my venture to recover the lost artifact, for it was brought the most dreadful news. Spymaster Adamare died in an unexplainable accident while searching for the artifact. He is with God now. Can no longer fulfill his duty to search for the rumored artifact. I can select another counselor to replace him. He probably won't be as good at spy. No, he is not good at spy stuff. So... let's go for... They are in Diplo range, they will join my court, and they're good at spying. Alas. Okay, good. I feel better. Yeah, by the way, you, Zombie Ape, so Zombie Ape wrote, don't worry about it, it's always best to tell others their options. And since you lurk most of the time and had a name change from Plaster Demon to this, you would have been surprised if you knew when you followed. So this is one of the big reasons. It is, you have no idea what the temptation is like to, when somebody is in there and they say, you know, oh yeah, I followed a long time ago or something like that. There is a tremendous temptation, you know, to seem personable and such, to be like, oh yeah, you know, I remember back when you followed, when you really don't, right? Because some people are great at that. I knew some professors who are really good at that. I'm not. So now that people can change their names on Twitch, if you play that game and it was somebody who changed your name, you look like such a clown. And you just wind up, you know, nobody likes to be BS'd. So, thank you for making me feel better about that, Zombie Ape. And I am very glad that I did not give in to the temptation to pretend I've known you all my life. Okay. This is my new spy. Oh no, I don't want you to leave the court. I want you to be my new spy master. So one question I have now, does it make sense for me to... Oh my god, it does not make sense for me to... Yikes. Yikes. If this woman dies, this guy inherits well... See, the funny thing, he inherits everything, but then I'd be able to make the claim on... Okay. No, we need to deal with this guy, so... Let's just send some assassins his way. Age 59, my father-in-law, Duke Coinbert of Corsica, died due to severe stress. Too bad for him. Now the question is... Yeah, I think I will send a... I think I'm going to send my spy master to hurry this along. Okay, my son. We're gonna get you to become a good steward. Well, I will do my best. I was gonna say, having had such a pleasure chatting with you now, I will do my absolute best to get in, to remember you when you stop by next. But I appreciate you being good-natured about it for sure. All right, so this is a little risky because I only have like 1 wealth afterwards, but let's get the loan off my back. Your court chaplain, Orson Adamini, has been discovered charging money for various religious favors, putting the gold in his own pocket. So, intolerable. He loses 50 prestige. I lose 50 piety. He gets fired as court chat. You know what? I am 100% okay with this. I now have a better court chaplain, and I don't need to worry about converting my my chancellor anymore. Now, of course, the catch here is that if I imprison this guy, he is sort of like the next in line for the succession, so I don't actually want him to be imprisoned. But one day I'm sitting with my courtier Clementia, and I decide that I should show her an extract from the Rule of Saint Benedict in hopes of teaching her the way of God. Ways of God. Sorry, no, the way of God. She's very attentive, and I am sure that she will grow up to join me in the Benedictine order. Do they let women come in? We'll teach her faith. Hey, Sin. How was dinner? By the way, maybe it is worth mentioning, guys, so I don't want to be too much of a... I don't want to hammer this too much, but I am sort of looking to grow the channel, and obviously we've been wavering around the 2K mark for a little while now, so if you do happen to know somebody who you think might enjoy this stuff, or if you have a Twitter account or something like that, it does mean a lot if you share this out, because you never know where your next viewer is going to come from. And I think because I've got this milestone, which I didn't think I was going to get originally, and we only have a couple of months left, and it's so close. It's definitely a time where a follow will sort of go above and beyond what it normally did. Now, with that in mind, if you don't feel comfortable sharing out the stream, or you've already done so, I definitely do not want to take the work that everyone has done for granted. But I've been doing a little bit of a recruitment drive, especially to make up for some of the losses that have been happening over the last couple of months. And so if you happen to have the opportunity, it is something that would be very welcome, and I definitely appreciate for those of you who've been doing it. So it's a chili, nothing too fancy, just a couple of cans of beans and canned chili, your own seasonings and whatnot. That sounds delicious. I've been trying to be pretty strict with my budgeting lately. So I sort of did a light lunch, and I skipped dinner. He's a potential ruler, so let's teach him duty. But yeah, I don't recommend skipping meals, by the way. But I don't know, I managed to get myself back on track, and I felt great about that, so... but the Eyes of Sin has been really impressing me with her frugality lately. She's been doing a great job of kind of pointing out where good deals are and things like that. If she ever makes a cookbook, I will be happy to... I'll be happy to get some tips. Next time you get a chance, if you find flyers from my local grocers, send you a photo and you will try to help. You're great with budgeting. Oh, I really appreciate that. So yeah, this is the big thing. Like, I am okay. Like, I am definitely going to be able to get what I want, but I'm trying to really aggressively pay down the debt that I incurred for my education. And so, as a result, I have been trying to keep a very strict budget. And what I did is I put the food as well as the entertainment in there. So it's like, it's a budget for everything. So if I do something like buy a board game or something like that, that goes inside of it. What's been happening is a bunch of Kickstarters that I'd signed on to before I made that budget are finishing. And so what's happening is it's putting a little bit of a crimp on me making sure that I kind of hit this daily goal. I've got like a little spreadsheet set up where I try and like balance out the values and such. So I've been pretty disciplined at keeping with it so far. But one of the big problems is I still like, especially because I'm not really good at preparing lunches and I'm not like at doing stuff like that, I wind up wasting a lot because the cafeteria at work is not that good. And, but I wind up spending money on like buying a lunch where obviously if I made a chili or something like that, it would work a lot better. So, but there was somebody who told me like forever that they were going to, you know, help me out with recipes and stuff like that. And then they never did it. And then Eyes of Sin apparently comes along and does more than the person did in like a year. So, while attending a prayer early one morning, I noticed my brother Robert drowsing off in his seat. Meanwhile, our fellow members in the Benedictine order are so deep in contemplation that they have not seemed to notice yet. I will wake him before anyone catches on. I gently prod at Robert and get no reaction. Then I shove my elbow into his side, causing him to cough and open his eyes. A flash of anger in them. His face turns red as he blinks, the situation dawning on him. Suddenly, "Thank you," he mumbles sheepishly. What's my job title? I am an economist, Theo. So, yes, it sounds very unusual for me to talk about how I, oh yeah, I gotta make sure that I keep the budget together for the food or something like that. Like, this is the important thing. I get a decent... I did get a decent pay for what I do. Not the highest offer that I got, but something that I like doing. But just because you have a cool job or one that pays you reasonably well doesn't mean that you can't keep your budget in line. So, by the way, most embarrassing thing, I've had this happen to me, but I was in the front row of a lecture of the prof who wound up recommending me to the place I'm working right now. And I did fall asleep during his class, so... Think nothing of it, friend. I like it a lot, Theo. It's actually really cool that, so between you and the Eyes of Sin, and there's a guy named Jeff the Hef who doesn't always stop by, but sometimes he does. He's the one who helped me out with that animation on the Full Throttle video. By the way, welcome to the channel. I didn't say that. That's the most important part. I always like to joke that I've got great job security because usually when I run into people and I tell them what I do, you know, they change the topic really quickly, or they say something along the lines of like, oh, you know, I hated that in school or whatever. And I think that's job security because I'm like, yeah, if everybody hates my job, I'm going to enjoy it. Jay Precious, thank you very much for the bit. There's all sorts of names coming out right now. And you're number one. Absolutely you are. So if I can get a bidding war going, then I'll quietly roll in my bits. But thank you very much for that and welcome. But yeah, so I sometimes rely on the fact that people find that subject very boring to make sure that I have a job. But between Eyes of Sin, yourself, and a fellow named Jeff DeHeff, you're starting to convince me that I might actually have a cool job. So you usually watch my YouTube vids, but today stayed at work, so you get to watch my stream. That's excellent, Theo. It makes me really glad that I streamed sort of earlier as well, not earlier, but properly on time tonight. So that's really cool that you got a chance to visit. I don't know if you got to hear at the beginning, but if you originally started watching YouTube because of, excuse me, because of Cultist Simulator, I'm going to be doing that on Twitch, or not Twitch, on Steam. I don't know if I'll be on the Steam front page, but I'll definitely be on the Cultist Simulator page. So if you've been waiting for my return to that, we'll be hitting the dancer, and you guys get to see me play it for the very first time in front of an undisclosed number of people. So Economy sounds great. You should do one of those cultural streams. I've done it once before, Theo, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I find it difficult to get through the whole topic all at once. But I'm definitely planning on doing another one once I find an interesting enough subject. I've got a couple of papers that I think might get published reasonably soon, so I thought maybe when I publish those papers, I can actually do the paper on stream, because it's like, here's the author, he wrote this thing that you can go and find. It's just like, it's different. It's not like I'm some name in the American Economic Review or something like that, having this perfectly formed thing drop out of the sky. It's like, yes, this is a person who you at least know on the internet, and if you have questions about how this paper got made, you know, have at him, because I did the whole thing. So in the worst case, talk about cryptocurrencies. I actually wound up doing that on Periscope once, but it's not really my field of expertise. So but yeah, I'll definitely try and come up with some cool stuff for you guys to talk about. And Jay Precious has been lurking, did a great CK2 explanation a bit ago. That's a relief. I thought I blew it. So thank you very much. And thank you for the extra bits. So those of you who are waiting to participate in a bidding war, you now need to beat 101 bits. And thank you very much. I believe your name will be up there for a week, or however the default setting is. So the hectic life of a ruler rarely allows for sufficient time for contemplation. I ask of you to seclude yourself and think about your life and your actions, a sort of penance for sins. Who the hell do you think you are? Sure, why not? To bring yourself closer to God and repent for your sins, you are to seclude yourself and do penance. Spend your days reading the Holy Bible, praying to God, and contemplating your life and your actions. During this time, you must live simply and restrict your access to the outside world. Sounds like Twitch streaming. And it's possible for me to rank up in the society, so I'll start by doing that. My Chancellor has improved relations with the Duchess. Good news there. And looks like we're back to Holy War. So this would be a great opportunity for me to start going... Oh, maybe not. So if she winds up suffering some battlefield losses, this would be a great opportunity for me to turn around and try and steal the title. But all right, I think we can speed it up a little bit. And Honored Donatus Hilderic, I hereby grant you permission to advance in the next rank within the Benedictine Order. I am now an Oblatus. All right, so now we'll do penance. So I'm going to suffer diplomacy, but I'll get some piety for the trouble. So today my seclusion begins. I have selected a simple chamber in the castle where I will spend most of my time during the coming months. Within those bare walls I shall do my prayers, read the Bible, and contemplate my life and actions. God shall be my companion. So, good news here. We have managed to sort of remove the... We managed to remove the debt. What I'm probably going to wind up doing at some point is build a hospital. I think that's also the least costly upgrade that I can do. And then what my next few decisions are going to be are sort of, okay, do I want to put some more into my existing holdings, or do I want to build up my my wealth so that I can hire some mercenaries against my liege? There's a few different things that I can do. So I haven't made a firm decision yet. I am going to build up just to build a hospital, but after that we'll consider some of my extra options. Glitchin Sweet, welcome. What is this? Christianity? Where's the good old Odin worshipping? I think I did Vikings last time. I think chat might remember this a little bit better. I did Vikings last time. It's been a while. I think I just got really tired of being up in the north, and especially on these sort of isolated areas where people I don't know, like I kind of feel like there's not as many threats. So this Lombardy start actually was pretty dramatic at the start, but you know, the game's still young. Maybe I'll embrace paganism as a Lombard. Anyways, welcome to the channel, Glitch and Sweet. I cannot make sense of this passage in the Bible. The words are archaic and their meaning is deeply hidden by copious layers of symbolism. It would greatly benefit my spiritual development if I discovered the text's essence on my own, although at this point, perhaps it would be better asking the court chaplain. So 26% chance that I interpret it successfully, 74% chance I fail, 65% chance that, I mean, I'm not the brightest. I'm going to try and figure it out on my own. Did you hear Vikings? You guess you'll watch that tomorrow. Yeah, the Vikings are pretty fun. So if you're interested in Vikings, definitely check out the Old Gods Zombie 8, because not only does it give you an earlier start time, but it's got a whole bunch of mechanics built around the Norse. So you're baffled that whole Veneto religion is called Treviso and not Padova. Patavium has always been the major city after Venice. Oh my God, I hope I pronounced that all correctly. I am not even. I don't even. I am not even remotely close to the stadium of being able to participate in that ball game. Like I showed up with a stick and a puck, and it turns out everybody was playing baseball. I'm gonna have to take your word on that, but you better believe I'm gonna be doing some Wikipedia searches afterwards, Dale. In my obstinacy, I refused to ask for help. Surely I, the Count, would know enough of the Bible to understand the meaning of the passage. Hour upon hour I sat staring at the words, trying to make sense of them, but each interpretation I could think of felt lackluster and hollow. Wisdom of God is beyond my understanding. Oh, looks like they've got heretics. And consumption. Consumption is a deformation of the soul. How do you initiate a raid instead of a war and an invasion? Oh, that's a great question, Glitch and Sweet. I believe there's a toggle to one of your armies, but it's probably better if I show you, so just give me a quick second here. I know that Saint Benedict was a paragon of temperance, however I struggle to control my appetite. While doing penance, I am supposed to eat very simple food in small portions, but I am growing weary. I cannot concentrate when my stomach rumbles like this. I shall defeat my desires with a fast. Alright, so... Sorry for the interruption for this, guys, but I actually want to sort this out for myself, so let's do quick save. Not to desktop. We'll return to this at the end of the playthrough for tonight, so don't worry about me skipping. Nope. Turn off Iron Man. So for those of you wondering what this is, so this is I am playing King Halfdan, White Shirt of Jorvik, later known as York. So I am a Norse Germanic king, and this means that I play by different rules. Right now I've got 15,000 troops. Now normally with this I would... oh. Alright, I screwed this up, but here's the... I can't show you directly, Glitch and Sweet, but this'll get you as close as you need to go. So when you are a Norse ruler, it'll actually tell you all the cool things that you can do. Nope. What am I doing wrong here? There we go. Can raid overseas with ships, can raid infidel neighbors for loot, so on and so forth. So if we take a look, we are the one pagan truth in a sea of Christianity. So what we can do here, there's an option here that says toggle looter. Now the reason I can't push this button right now is I'm actually at war with Northumbria. But normally if you're playing Vikings, what you can do is you can click this button and you can move them into neighboring provinces, and what they'll start doing is they'll start kind of looting the area, and you get basically free money for it. So it's one of the fun things that you can do as a Viking. If you find that you're a little bored playing a Western, sort of a Western count, and you haven't gotten that much done, one thing you might enjoy about playing a Viking is you can hit that toggle button on your troops, and you can basically just start getting some extra money for your... well, not only do you actually... so it's not only just that you get extra money, but there are some other bonuses that you can get from doing a lot of raids. It's a mechanic. It's not just like, oh, here's to get some money. There are actually some things that happen in the game, or potentially can trigger if you do raids, or don't do raids in some cases, so... Invade the Midlands after Brexit, the inflation will literally mean free money. Actually, just brutalize Blackpool. They deserve no better. And Logistics 3305 says that you are going to sing a song. Are you going to sing the song in chat, or are you going to are you just privately singing a song along? And welcome, Logistics. During the first days of my fast, I felt as if I was going to die. As I woke on the third day, however, I was surprised by how clear my mind was and how little the lack of sustenance bothered me. The next day when I broke my fast and returned to my simple diet, it was more than enough to satisfy me. I'm stronger than I thought. This broadcaster has indicated that well, the biggest, so I don't I mean, obviously I can drop, the occasional curse or some kind. That's, so I like giving myself the option, but I don't, it's more just so the fact that I don't think people are really going to enjoy me yammering on about the relationship between a vassal and a lord, or or if I'm playing, Civilization or something like that, if I talk about the little bit of history that I know, I just don't think people would find it that interesting. So I figured it's a nice little indicator for me to go up. It's one I'm conscious of when I go streaming on the Steam pages and such. Obviously, I mean, it's not like a 12-year-old's gonna wind up playing Cultist Simulator, but I kind of like the fact that I don't need to drop, the F-bomb on the odd chance that there is somebody who might be more sensitive to that. So, for me, the biggest challenge while doing penance was solitude. As I sit here and reflect upon the rule of Saint Benedict, thoughts enter my mind, which I desperately want to share with someone, but I have barely exchanged a single word since I began my seclusion. I glance out my window to see Wolfram engaged in a lively conversation with some friends. So I can go down there and join them, if only for a few minutes, but I will stay here alone with my thoughts. 65% chance that I make progress in penance, 35% no progress, 50% chance I become stressed, and 20% chance that I cease to be gregarious. Yeah, I actually really liked the Moulin Rouge version of your song. This is a challenge I have been given, and I will not give up so quickly. I returned to my copy of the Bible, and I continued where I had left off. During the first few pages, thoughts about the jolly friends in the courtyard kept distracting me, but after a while I found peace in reading. This is like me trying to read, this is like me trying to read a paper at work, because I've got my phone by me, and there's always Twitter. But it's obviously if you've got a 50-page, document in front of you that you need to go through, sometimes you just want to see cat photos. Byzantine Empire anime. So yes. It's been a really long time since I've done Byzantine Empire. I'm not at all familiar with the song though. Being alone's not so bad after all. Let's see. I still got my gregarious and I'm not stressed, so yay me. Although, of course, I'm still trying to murder someone. How much is it going to cost to bribe this guy? 43. I don't want to empty half of my treasury for... A daughter was born to Orson Adamini and Mariosa Rodolini? Good lord. These are dark days. My son Gunald has been growing weaker and weaker over the last few weeks, and I've just been informed that his affliction is indeed consumption. Speaking of Moulin Rouge, call for my court physician at once. This is not great, to be totally honest. He was supposed to be the chosen one. Isn't that normal for religious people? While they do all nice and read books, they plot to murder someone? It depends on the religious people. I know a few who are fairly pious, but, it's the Middle Ages. It's to be expected. Court physician Chisakaya Pancranata has completely botched the treatment of my son Gunald's disease. Gunald is now even worse off than before, barely clinging to his life. I'm expected to punish him for this transgression. What would be a suitable punishment? So because I am wroth, I can kill him. Huh. I don't really want to lose such a good... I don't want to lose that physician, though. Talk some sense into him. Easy now, he's trying his best. Honestly, I don't care if my kid hates me. Alright, we'll speed this up a bit. I mean, if he dies, I don't need to worry about him hating me. Today has been a day of new insights and revelations. In my seclusion, I have had plenty of time to think about my actions, my life, and my place in this world. Things I had never thought about suddenly became so clear. God has shown me the light. Okay, so possible opportunities coming up with... Far from the ancestral northern lands, the Lombards have over the centuries slowly but steadily adopted more and more Latin and Roman traditions. In the county of Treviso, the people have now gone so far to start considering themselves properly Italian. Curses. I can't remember if I don't think I have a means of... Yeah, I don't think I have a means of forcing them back to a proper culture, so... The Italian populace of Treviso have embraced the Lombard culture. Civilized peasants? Well, that was short-lived. God's blessing upon thee, Oblatus Hilderic. We are pleased with your progress. During the time that you spent in contemplative seclusion, you've taken a great step back on the path of the rule of Saint Benedict. I hereby declare your mission completed. So I'm no longer in secluded penance, and I've gained 200 devotion. So we're going to slow this down a bit. And I'm like, oh my god, there's so much disease! Some commoners have already gathered outside as your guards start closing the gates. A decisive thump silences the curious chatter coming from the other side. We'll probably wind up starving, but... and I'm going to build a hospital in 10 wealth. My wish to become a better Catholic has led me to the rule of Saint Benedict. I used to get angered by the smallest things, but lately I have striven to become more like Saint Benedict, and nowadays I barely notice what used to annoy me. So this is a great example. So, like, for those of you who are still sort of on the fence in terms of Crusader Kings 2 and some of the things that go on in this game, this is a really great example of the different ways that you can play this game, or the ways that you can sort of react to it. So, you know, there's one side of me who plays strategy games, and I'm just like, okay, you know, I have a trait, and I've gained a trait, or I've lost a trait, so my martial's going to go down by 3, but my intrigue and diplomacy are going to go up by 1 each, because I've lost the trait Wrath. That's totally fine too. If you really enjoy just playing the game as a giant spreadsheet, you're considering all the different ways that you can manage your realm, or you just sort of see everyone as a bunch of numbers, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from playing the game that way. But the thing that's so great about Crusader Kings 2, in my opinion, is that sort of without even trying, you sort of get this little bit of a narrative going on. So what actually happened here? Well, Count Hilderic of Verona was working on his penance. While he was working on his penance, he was neglecting the countryside or the county, and consumption came in. And he wasn't there to seclude his court. He wasn't there to do anything about it. And then all of a sudden, you know, news is coming along. Your only son the person who will carry your name will has now just gotten consumption. So I send for the physician, and the physician screws it up. And of course, I could have used my Wrath trait and killed the guy. But of course, what did I, as the player, say? It's like, I don't really want to lose him. And sure, that was a numbers-oriented decision. But what happened after here? Well, I showed restraint. You know, while I was doing my penance, I showed restraint. I didn't wind up killing the physician, despite the fact that he potentially ended my bloodline, because it's not like my wife is going to be generating any more kids. And as a result, I've lost the trait Wrath. Now that's maybe not... The big thing is that most of the time that you play Crusader Kings 2, you sort of wind up having these really wacky stories that come up. And it's a lot of fun, and you know, you usually wind up telling those stories. Like, I'm not going to go and try and sell someone on Ck2. It's like, yeah, I had this guy, and he used to get really angry, but then he sat down and he read the Bible, and then... like, his doctor screwed up the treatment of his son, and he wanted to chop his head off, but he's like, no, that's not the Christian thing to do. And then guess what? He lost the Wrath trait. Nobody is going to be impressed by that story. But there's an arc, right? And the big thing for me is it gives a little bit of humanity behind these numbers. Even though what do I really want? I want a big army so that I can take over the territory of my lord. So if anything, I've taken a step back. But I don't know. I like little things like this. I sort of like how it winds up going. And of course, because human beings are complex, sometimes things that might not make sense on paper happen inside the game, and just because you naturally want to have that pattern, you wind up telling the story. It's one of the reasons why we still have these... Oh, I guess I don't... No, yeah, we still have it. And what was the other one? These were from way back when, like one of the first big playthroughs I did of Crusader Kings 2 on Twitch. And just there's this legendary figure who... who became grandpa. And, for some of you who were there, like at the very beginning, there's not too many left, by the way, people who were around for that stream. But yeah, you've got all of these ones. And yeah, Glitch and Schweet's got a great point, which is, there are people, if you go, by the way, if you're ever curious about how absurd Crusader Kings 2 can get, you can go on the forums and you can see people who have quite literally been able to grant titles to horses. I've not quite gone down the rabbit hole that far. I'm gonna be lucky if I wind up with like the Iron Crown or something like that. So, Jizakaya, your court physician informs you that Bega de Rose is suffering from the current epidemic. Having her stay with the rest of you inside these walls puts you at risk. Out. She's gonna be mad at me, but she doesn't have any power, so. And that's one of the things that's really neat about. So like one of the things that really attracted me to Crusader Kings 2, I started playing this while I was in grad school, and one of the things that I did in grad school was political economy. So to have this game, which is entirely about, you've got the feudal system, for the sake of a game, it's divided up in all to these little parcels of land, so it sort of seems like a country that I'm familiar with, or at least units that I'm sort of familiar with, but obviously it's a bit of a different thing in reality. The Middle Ages did not look like the world we have now, or even the world of, say, the 17th century. So I think one of the things that I like so much about this game is just, for me, it arrived at a time... I'm going to build the hospital, by the way. So here's a great point, which is to say, it's like, in terms of political economy, one of the things that you look at, like, one of the subjects that people are interested in that is, what is there something about electoral systems, or is there something about the way people vote, or what people, who votes, that lead to certain economic policies, right? There's a really, an old idea that people have, which is that governments are always going to be super spendthrift because the population always wants more goodies, and if you leave people to vote, then they're always going to make the worst decision. But this doesn't happen. You do wind up with democratically elected governments which cut a lot of stuff. Canada had it. And it was, by the way, the Canadian government that cut everything wasn't even a conservative party. It was actually our more liberal party that did that. So, in a more broader sense, it's sort of a study, a particularly rigorous study of sort of some of the systems and some of the dynamics behind them. And so in the case of Crusader Kings, right, who am I responsible to? Well, I'm responsible to the Duke. Who am I going to, what are some of the ways that I can accomplish some of the things I'm doing? Well, wealth and so on and so forth. So does it make a lot of sense for me to spend my entire treasury on building a hospital? Well, I mean, given the fact that it will help the prosperity, the question is my time horizon. Do I want to be able to conquer the territory that my Duke holds? If I want to do it in this lifetime, chances are I can't. I'm not going to be able to do that, and I should keep the money in my treasury. But I'm not just interested in this particular character. I'm interested in the entire family tree, right? I want to be able to see where this all goes, down the road, and I want to have as many income-producing sort of resources as I do. And if my population keeps dying to easily preventable diseases, maybe I should be building this thing right away. So these are some of the decisions that I wind up doing. And this isn't even a political economy thing. This is just a very simple decision in terms of economics, which is that I've got limited resources. How do I allocate them? What is the sort of function that I'm using to try and make these sorts of decisions? And so, because I had that mental framework for looking at the world, as soon as I played Crusader Kings and I'm like, wait a minute, I've got a whole bunch of vassals underneath me who want to achieve their own things, so I can't just, mechanistically hit a button and make them do what I want. Oh my God, this game is awesome. That was really what got me into it. And again, it's not that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write a thesis on the political economy of Crusader Kings 2. But I do think they've done a really wonderful they've done a really wonderful job of modeling sort of the relationships that were at play in the Middle Ages into a game which is fun to play. Obviously, I'm pausing and explaining that, but I wanted to get that through. And then Masamagoma says, you're doing a ton of essays and such for scholarships because you're a senior, and one of them is about the importance of free speech. What historic repressions of free speech should you discuss? You're thinking the Alien and Sedition Acts and Stalin's Great Purge, but what else? Well, one of the big things, so there's no shortage of examples, Masamagoma. And if you want people who wrote particularly well during that time, you might consider something like John Milton and Areopagitica. And in this case, he's making arguments against the censoring. But I think one of the things so what you need to do for an essay like that, in one sense, you first of all need to deliver the goods. And unfortunately, in history, there are lots of examples that you can draw from. But if you really want that essay to shine, one of the things that you should do is not just pick any given example of censorship, but think the deeper point that you want to make with this. You can say, censorship is bad, censorship is good, censorship is sometimes necessary, it should never be permitted. There's lots of different ways that you can go for it. And what you should probably be doing is not just looking for some any example to go inside, but one thing that you might want to do is consider specifically, what do you want to say? And it's a feedback loop, right? Sometimes you've got some history that inspires an idea, and sometimes you've got an idea and you want to sort of reflect on, well, what happened the last time that this thing came up? But one thing you do sort of want to consider is, what is the overall point that you want to make? Because you can definitely, you can sort of give a laundry list of examples of censorship. But if you really want a solid essay, you're going to have this constant through line through your writing. and sort of this theme that keeps getting repeated, or this thing that you keep returning to, and being able to pick that perfect historical example for the point that you want to make, that's going to be the difference between a good essay, which I know you can write, and like a great essay where you like want to show it to other people and be like, yeah, this is, you know, this is what I did, and I want you to read it. So that's a little bit of a cop-out answer for you, Masamagoma, but I do also want to encourage you to like, don't sell yourself short. Like, don't just play the one move ahead. Think about the broad theme of the essay that you want, and see if you can take some of your historical analogies to inform that point. I try to get a good night's sleep, but and one of the reasons I say that, by the way, is because you are already ahead of the game. The fact that you already have examples that you can draw from means you're good. But obviously, like, you can write about one specific instance of censorship, and you could write a book on that, depending on how far down the rabbit hole you went. It may not be a book that other people read, but being able to really drive home your point, that's going to be the thing that gets you a scholarship for sure. Hey, no problem, Kite. I know there wasn't as much gameplay, but I really appreciate you hanging out. Guys, for those of you who don't know, Kite is one of the big reasons why I'm continuing to stream this game. His encouragement really brought me back. Holy Fury's coming out soon. I hope I get a key for it. If I do, we'll definitely be doing that. If not, I'll just revert the patch to this one, and we'll get more. But I did want to take a quick minute here. We've got a VIP who's on his way out, and I definitely wanted to let you guys know that his kind words were one really big reason why I'm doing this. Although obviously all of you are being very pleasant inside of chat, so it gives me more reasons to keep streaming Crusader Kings. I try to get a good night's sleep, but I am tormented by horrible recurring nightmares of our people. The pleas for help and the hurtful words begin to get to me. I won't be Craven. We have to open the gates and help them. I wonder if there's any improvements I can do yet. Yeah, no technology for the hospitals. So the main reason why I'm trying to assassinate in Salerno is to try and break up these holdings a bit. He's going to become an adult soon too, so might be a problem. Either she needs to survive for this guy to become, you know, to give her a child, or I need to get rid of the heir. You tried creating a Cornwallian empire once? That's that's great. I mean, for House Rose, we started in, I don't think it was Northumberland. I believe we started with Westmoreland. I wonder if a Rose is still on the seat. No. Maybe I was wrong about the family then. Let's take a quick look under, not this one, Dynasties. Huh. That's such a shame. I can't remember the county I had originally. United England, and then death took you, and then your son 1 year later. You had Gavelkind, so it didn't work very well. The kingdom fractured, and you were stuck playing as a 2-year-old girl. You hate that stupid chess game with Death Event. I've never got that event! I was watching The Seventh Seal the other day, though. Idison, yes, quarantine is hard, especially for royalty, because it can really seem like the rich against the poor. It always has been. I offered a comment on Twitter, which I don't think was well received, but somebody had pointed out. I won't say the person who said this. I think I'll leave it to them to sort of represent their own views, but. In response to the Red Dead Redemption thing, they said, if you crunch, you make more money, and there's an infinite supply of replacements, and you're going to lay everyone off anyway, because you have to do a release and design cycle next, so there's no downside. So crunching is optimal if your primary goal is to make money. Now, I don't agree with this point of view. I don't think that's actually how games get made, although this is somebody who works in the games industry, and I don't, so I need to keep that in mind. But the point I brought in is that employee turnover is not costless, and the productivity improvements from tenure leave with the people who you fire or burn out. Companies that employ these methods may be profitable in accounting terms, but it is far from certain that crunch is maximizing long-run financial returns. Now, they offer the reply here, which is not a terrible one to consider. Absolutely no one is concerned with the 10-year plus timelines across which this might be true. To which I reply, but that's a statement about the beliefs of the firms and the people running them, while I think you're trying to point out a structural problem with profit maximization. That's fine, but saying that short-sighted firms make inefficient decisions is a different claim, even if true.
I would never want to belong to any
Revelate, thank you very much for the follow, especially while I'm relitigating Twitter conversations. So the point that I want to say here is that if you say that short-sighted firms make bad decisions, you've built that into your model of the world because the firm makes bad decisions by definition. Whereas I think what he's trying to say is that profit maximization in the games industry is resulting in crunch. And I'm sort of trying to point out the fact that it is actually not a profitable decision in the long run to treat a studio that way. I also don't believe there's an infinite supply of replacement labor, but it's an assumption that we can make because most firms can behave like that in the short run. It says they aren't independent, and I sort of point out, well, at the risk of exploding this into a greater critique on capitalism, isn't the long-term success of some firms over others attributable to the fact they were, to more than the fact that they were lucky in the greedy decisions that they made? If firms can be induced to long-term to think long-term, surely everyone benefits. So the point of this exchange, I kind of lost the plot partway through that because I had to find the link. But you've got one model of the world which says that companies are always out to screw you. And no matter what you do, it's us against them, eat the rich, so on. And I'm not unsympathetic to this view. But I do think that it's not the only model we have available to us, and that sometimes there can be some benefits from exploring these things from the point of view of the firm. So if firms crunch, why do they crunch? What are the conditions under which they do so, and what are some ways that we can stop them from doing that if we think it's bad? And I think we all do think that it's bad. By the way, I'll just follow up with chat for a quick second. Seems like Death really likes chess. Apparently, he appeared as a hot girl, so you invited her into your keep and then pranked you and challenged you to chess. I'd do that if I was Death. Same thing 3 times. Third time, it was a dude, though. That's really funny, actually. Have I ever tried to reform the Hellenic League? Start with Athens and control all of ancient Greece. No, I've never done that, Glitch and Street. I actually haven't done a whole lot of Greek playthroughs. I've done a lot in the West, and I've done a lot of India, and I've done probably one Caliphate, but not on stream. But I've not actually played as the Byzantine Empire or anything even remotely close to that. That sounds like a really fun playthrough to do, though. I'm gonna get this event done, and we can talk about crunch again afterwards. But my food has tasted strange lately, and I've begun to eat less and less for fear of being poisoned. I don't trust the spy master to find the poisoner. The only one I can rely on is my friend. So with my friend, I'll find the poisoner and put a stop to this. Or I'm just being paranoid. The food is fine. 10% chance that somebody is actually poisoning me. Let's go for it. I don't feel so good. I've gained the ill trait. Sharp pains in your abdomen cause you to clutch at your stomach. My incompetent physician is sure that I'm developing consumption. He insists that you follow his instructions. I'm boned. Chizukai kept you up late for days stargazing with him to reconnect with the moon, he said. I'm not sure that did anything. Who hired this guy? Should have executed him. What are we looking at? Ooh, opportunities. Okay. One moment you're shivering, the next you're sweating, and overall you feel awful. Alas. Okay, so I'm gonna put a claim. They'll probably rebuild their territory before this becomes a thing, but they're weak, so I want to take advantage of it. Okay, his educated guess is that I'm in the early stages of dysentery now. He insists that I follow his instructions. Very well. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Klitsch and Schweet. One of the things that I really loved about this Lombardy playthrough was that everything was going against me. My Duke wound up like wanting to claim all of my titles, so we actually potentially had an end to this playthrough completely. So I like the climb up. The only thing that I will say is that I feel like sometimes the climb up from Count is particularly grueling because of the speed with which you can get CBs, although obviously Jade Dragon changed a bit of that. Yeah, it was a couple of generations ago that I hired him. To combat your fever, he wrapped me in wet pieces of linen clothing, hoping that it would relieve the worst of the heat. Well, at least it gave me 1/4 of a point. Massimo Goma, are you saying that because of who I was interacting with on Twitter? Sorry, that story completely dropped. I'll do my best to... Hermetic Society, you say? I've got my magnum opus. Crusader Kings is a small game. You thought it would be... What did you think would... So I should say this might... if you have the base game, your map might be a little bit smaller than this, because I know Rajas of India added like this area. But I thought it was like every single one of these counties have like different people inside of it. Or are you talking about like the file size? You're looking at your live... Okay, good. Because, yeah... I thought you were being very cheeky. Seek treatment. I've not quite been able to get into Caves of Cud, but that is more of a me thing. I think as soon as there's a good tutorial for the game, I'm going to enjoy it. All right. His educated guess is that I'm... Well, okay, apparently... My incompetent steward has led a group of smugglers into the county of Verona. Apparently he thought they were merchants. What a fool. Well, I mean, he's average. I don't know what I expected. Probably should have collected taxes. To invigorate you, he recommended that you consume what made you strong in the first place, and thus provided you with jugs of human breast milk. I'm not sure that did anything. Alright, so I'm clinging on to life. It's unlikely we're going to be able to get anything to take advantage of this right away. Istra has... Yeah, so... It'll be tight, but I think I can manage. You spend most of your waking hours on the privy, where you frequently pass a loose bloody stool. You have contracted dysentery. We'll see what happens over time, but I'm willing to take a bit of a risk to try and get some titles. My court physician has come to see me and offers treatment for my illnesses. He explains that there are several different types of treatment that he can offer, as long as you know what you're doing. Oh, file size. You just bought it because it's only a bit more than €5 on MMOG. I've never heard of that. And you were surprised that it was so small. You expected maybe like 2 to 3 gigabytes and not a download 2 minutes. I don't even remember how big the game is, but when you think... So like this map is basically a shaded it's like a bunch of shades for the mountains and such. The game is pretty processor intensive because there's a bunch of, like, again, it's running these simulations of all of these characters. There was a fun bug in the game, or maybe an optimization is the better description of it, where in the Byzantine Empire, especially when it was really large at the end of the game, your game would slow down a lot, and it was because all of the different nobles inside the Byzantine Empire were busy like calculating whose balls they could chop off. And so once they figured out that was the cause, they sort of fixed it, and so to speak, and it didn't do that anymore. So you had a pretty significant performance boost for games where the Byzantine Empire was very large. But the funny thing about that is like, you know, it's a beautiful looking game, and there's, you know, models and such, but the real sort of like the real demand of this game is actually on just all the complexities of the relationships, not the. It's not like Grand Theft Auto. Right, he brought me a concoction made from buckthorn and senna. At first you thought the potion ineffectual, but later in the same day you felt a churning in your bowels, which sent you running for the privy. As you howled in anguish, Hezekiah assured you the foulness that was expelled, that the foulness was expelled with your feces. I probably shouldn't have agreed to this. Oh, they're the Haribo gummy bears. That's what he gave me. Have any of you read the Amazon review for Haribo sugar-free gummy bears? Yeah. Unsurprisingly, I didn't make it. You have a new error. If your character dies, you will now play as the son of the guy who just died on the toilet. Oh no, he was the syphilitic. My son, this is the son of the syphilitic. All right, lots of stuff to do. I'm going to be actually, I kind of feel like I should be wrapping up now. Okay, tell you what, I'm actually close to my regular streaming time, so I might only have about 15 minutes inside of it. I have a lot of stuff that I need to do, and I was originally only going to make this a 2-hour cast. So I'm gonna, just as a heads up, guys, I know we had a lot of people die, but not a lot happened in this playthrough except for the fact that we like paid off our debts, which is an advantage in and of itself. But especially because I'm going to be having a big stream for Cultist Simulator tomorrow. I've got the Dirty Rectangles to go to on Wednesday, and just generally I've got a whole bunch of extra stuff that I need to do. I do need to kind of get this going, but I'll try to do another 15 minutes so we can sort of set ourselves up for the next week's playthrough. So, Count Hildrick has given up the ghost at age 38. He died attending to chamber business. A humble man, he never wanted anyone to make a fuss over his accomplishments. A godly man, Hildrick is with God now. And actually, you know what? I get to decide how the 15 minutes are spent, so I am going to go to Amazon. In order to give you an idea of exactly what Count Hilderic went through. So this is from the Canadian one. Let's see if I can find... If I can't find them, like, right away, oh, come on, where is it? Did they get rid of it? All right, here's the one from Canada. I haven't screened this, so let's see what's going on. Eat if you dare. I sit here writing this review at 4 a.m. from my porcelain throne, a fixture you will all become all too familiar with if you choose to eat these cute little bears from the pits of hell. I had to eat a pound of these little bastards after Man City must have thought they were playing American football the other week and lost to a team of Arsenal scrubs. They were a bit chewy overall, but appeared to be nothing more than your average gummy bears. After about 2 hours, with little more than some mild stomach cramps, feeling like one would expect after eating a pound of any candy, I began to wonder if I'd gotten some duds. Like the slow build-up of a Martin Scorsese film, however, those bears were waiting for their baptism scene to destroy my insides. It started with the cramping, very akin to doing 1,000 crunches and then being forced to hold the 1,001st crunch indefinitely. Then came the initial run, which opened the proverbial floodgates. I am over 30 and beginning to wonder if these bears knew that and want to send me back to the can for each year that I've been on the earth to make me wonder why I'd ever been born. In between gastrointestinal bouts of pressure washing the inside of my toilet from my anus, I lay in bed feeling as if someone were to punch me in the stomach, I'd explode, turning the walls of my bedroom into a soiled Jackson Pollock rendition. To give you an idea, I spent $50 ordering a UFC pay-per-view only to willingly miss the last 2 to 3 fights on the main card because I didn't want to stray too far from my master bathroom. Thankfully for me and my marriage, fearing what might be coming, I convinced my wife to spend the evening at my sister-in-law's because trust me fellas, nothing will be gained from your significant other experiencing this with you. I'm no longer in pain but still have to make trips back to my master bath on a regular basis. Eat these if you dare, but be forewarned, they are not to be trifled with unless you want your toilet to be a staging ground for repeat fecal rehearsals of the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. That's not the best one you can get, but that's, Thus ended the story of Count Hildrick. Long live Count Orson. Trusting and complacent, Orson's counsel may have more power over him than what is right. Long live Count Orson. Alright. Let's start with get a council position. I've got a blank slate, so that's good news here. I can also recruit a court physician, so let's start with that. So this, I believe this is the full plate soundtrack. This is a DLC that's available, Masay Magoma, but it is, you're correct, it's not a default. Alright, well, this is a pretty obvious one. Marshal 10 we might want to reconsider. We'll try and keep these people happy. And you know what? Sorry, but Theodicus gets the job. Okay. So I'm curious if my... Do we still have smugglers? Yes, we do. Alright, I think we'll do recruitment drive in Verona. I think we'll still try and get the... I think we'll still try and get the title. Although she's starting to get her strength back. So am I, though. And I definitely still want to take out the Duke of Salerno, who's now all grown up. Okay, I think I'm happy with... I think I'm happy with where these are. Obviously, I totally blew it in terms of the... so Sin said something about basically the rich versus poor, and that was what I was trying to do. Oh, I completely forgot to pick a focus. Ah, yeah, I actually need to decide on that. But I'll just leave it. You guys have to deal with me relitigating Twitter comments because I don't feel like that's a good use of the remaining time. So I fulfilled my ambition. What's my next one gonna be? probably to groom an heir. So then my choices will be seduction, which will give me fertility and sex appeal, or family, which will give me fertility and health. So I'm not particularly sick. My intrigue could use a bonus. Ah yes, and I believe my wife is homosexual. Yeah. So let's go for seduction. Cat Orson fulfilled the ambition of becoming a counselor. Seduce. The chase begins. I shall bring all my seduction skills to bear on Duchess Theodorata until I have her wrapped around my finger. An envoy from the city of Bassano arrived with news regarding your search for a physician. The envoy told you of a promising medical student named Radwald. The young man managed to save the life of one of the daughters of an important local trader not long ago, and apparently she only lost an eye in the process. Coercing him to join your court should be an easy task. No. Alright, so I do have some worldly resources available to me, and the hospital's already being built, so... Castletown is tempting. Rougelet girl, I'm actually just getting ready to finish, but thank you very much for the host. How are you doing? So holding out for the Castletown is a good idea. What's my alternative? Because again, I want to consider these costs not just in wealth, but I also want to consider the cost in terms of what I'm giving up. So, better militia training grounds, stables, castle fortifications, a keep, a barracks. I mean, they're not bad military upgrades, but I feel like income-producing resources are the way to go on this one, so... I arranged for a scented letter to be left on Theodora's pillow in an attempt to woo her, and it seems to have struck true, for she's left one on mine, confessing her attraction to me. Whoa, ho! Time to up the ante. Okay, well, she'll obviously be mad at me for claiming. So she's got 887... strength, I've got 946. What's it gonna cost me? I'm gonna use it. Ignoring children, watching Twitch for the cash monies. I remember when I used to do babysitting. I didn't do Twitch, though. I was actually really... It's maybe not the only time I saw anime, but I feel like it was... It was like the real time that I actually got to see an anime movie. I had no idea what I was watching, but it seemed interesting. I made sure to attend a minor festival in Friuli in hopes of seducing Duchess Theodora, but despite my best attempts, she remains unimpressed. I need more practice, and maybe to claim less of her territory, but... But basically, the fact that I've had a couple of opportunities to send an army now, I'm willing to spend for the claim. And in the worst case scenario, we can always borrow from the moneylenders again, but I'd prefer not to do that. I sent Theodora a beautiful necklace and covered her room with wildflowers, but I've heard nothing back from her. Could have been worse. Hello, Izimins. I'll just give you a quick caution. I'm pretty much at the end of the cast, but I appreciate you stopping by, and I will do my best to sort of keep keep going as much as I can, but full disclosure at the beginning. These kids watch awful YouTubers that yell a lot. Hi YouTube, this is System Chalk here. I got a great new CK. That sort of stuff. Sorry, I'm not really good at doing that style. King Dalmair the Butcher has usurped the title, the City of Gratz from Sin... Give me that back! Oh, yeah, not my problem. Fate smiles upon me, and my wife Mariosa is pregnant. Cool. Okay, so let's see. So she got a big chunk of her territory sort of gobbled up, but she's not quite in a weakened state yet, so we'll wait. May your next child be a masculine child. Managed to chance upon Theodora alone in the kitchen when she came down for her usual late snack. We've talked and laughed for hours, and I can tell the attraction is going. Hoping I've read her correctly, I lean in to whisper in her ear. I'm going to quote the love poetry. She's got a high learning. I sure know how to cajole women. Theodora and I spent the night making sweet, illicit love in her bed. I snuck off in the wee hours, leaving the court clueless, I hope. I could say, Vindi Vidi Vici, but no, we will let our love grow. With any luck, I get a kid out of it. Can I marry you? You go to sleep now, hopefully till next time. Thanks again for all the explaining you did. No problem, Zombie Ape. I really do hope that you enjoy Crusader Kings 2. I've enjoyed this quite a bit, and I know I told you that I was only going to be going for another hour, so you definitely should get some sleep. I'm probably just going to wrap it up here, but I think what I'll do, we'll wait for the new year. Yay, it's 8:46. I think what we'll do, as we usually do, we went through 3 rulers tonight, I think. So let's call it a night, and we will review the Chronicle. With a score of 8,815, you beat House von Jaringen, who were powerful landholders in southern Germany and the holders of the duchies of Verona and Carinthia, which made the Zengaren family a key power holder in Germany. A failed rebellion against the emperor saw these titles stripped from the family, and other parts of the family lands would be inherited by other dynasties, leaving the lands shrunk to a few holdings in Swabia. So we began with Count Adermo of Verona and the second Adermo of Verona, both ruled for 33 years. We started off with Count Gaimar of Verona, who ruled for 5 years. Didn't do too bad in terms of his score, 1322, but I mean compared to his companions who did about 3k. Count Hilderic of Verona was next. He also only ruled for 5 years. He was Benedictine, so it was a bit boring. And now we're on to Count Orson of Verona, who has ruled for a mere 6 months. But of course, that's not why we're here. We are here to read the Chronicle of the Adamini. There's a lot of repetition in this. But let's see what we're up to. There we are. Alright, in Verona the people celebrated the benevolent rule of Count Gaimar. In 836 Verona saw an unusually bountiful harvest this year. In 837 tens of thousands of crowsbirds invaded Verona just before the harvest, causing much damage to the farmers' fields. In 838 a dragon was seen in the county of Treviso. In 839 a 10-foot tall woman was crucified in the county of Verona. In 840, Count Gaimar of Verona died a natural death on the 24th of June in 840. His nephew, Hilderic, succeeded the throne of the county with a grand ceremony in Verona. Tens of thousands of crows invaded again in 840, beginning the rather inauspicious reign. In 841, Count Hilderic of Verona made a pious pilgrimage to Rome. In 842, a dragon came back to Treviso. In 843, villagers saw blood raining from the sky in the county of Verona. But in 844, they saw an unusually bountiful harvest this year. Good for soil. In 845, Pope Stephanus IV, leader of the Catholic faithful, died of severe stress on the 2nd of April, 845. And Count Hilderic of Verona died attending to chamber business, Aribo Gunimibers, on the 3rd of July, 845. His brother Orson succeeded the throne of the county with a grand ceremony in Verona, which was associated with an unusually bountiful harvest this year. Good music to end on, too. So, let me take a quick second. Thank you everybody for hanging out. This was a lot of fun. I know the gameplay wasn't there wasn't as much of it, but I did enjoy it, and I'll try to commit next week, to do a little bit more, be a little bit more active in terms of the gameplay and that. But I thought it was a really great opportunity to explain the game to a few new people. So I hope you guys were at least tolerant of it, if not enjoying it. I get a chance to talk so much about this guy, but I don't get to host him a lot. Johnny Big Time. Oh, thank you so much, Melimony. Johnny Big Time is broadcasting right now, and he is doing Call of Duty 4. Now, I am probably not the intended audience for Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I did not like Black Ops 3. I thought the story was kind of dumb. Although I did like the tutorial mission of like train go boom. I thought that was kind of a cool bit. But by and large, I kind of thought the story was dumb and it didn't grip me. But Johnny has really been selling me on it. In fact, anytime he doesn't play Battle Royale, I think the game looks really good. And then the Battle Royale is just Battle Royale. Like I know it's a big thing and everybody likes it, but I know it's easy, especially with Crusader Kings 2. I mean, if you're only here for Crusader Kings 2, I'll leave you to the Twitch search functions. I'm sure you guys will be able to find what you're looking for there. But if you are looking for something new, Johnny Big Time is a remarkably entertaining broadcaster. He's the only guy I'll ever watch play Battle Royale because he sells it so well. He's got a great personality, and I get to talk about him so much, but I don't get a chance to host him that much. So we're gonna head it over that way. I'm so sorry, Rougelet Girl, you didn't get to see more than 5 or 15 minutes, but I do appreciate your host. I hope you're able to manage it, and hopefully maybe the kids enjoy Johnny's stream. So I'd love it if you guys could come along with me on the raid. He's a great guy, and I definitely have every faith that he'll be able to entertain you for the rest of the night. So have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow on Steam. I will see you Friday otherwise, and if you're only here for Crusader Kings, we'll see you Monday. Oh, screw this. Just good old-fashioned host. Thanks, guys. See ya.